Everyone, this is our first budget development meeting, our first full one, so I'd like to welcome you and thank you in advance for your perseverance for 4 days of this week. If we could start out with Connie calling the roll, please.
Bates,
Here.
Mangum,
Here.
Nichols,
Here.
Paulson,
Here.
Satterfield,
Here.
Swanson, here, Dahlquist,
Here. Agenda item 2, this is Mayor and Council Department. Connie Kendall is here, she's our city clerk, and Ann Nichols, Chief of Staff. We're going to have a presentation with the Mayor and Council Department budget. Welcome.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Connie Kendall, City Clerk.
I'm Ann Nichols, Pocatello Chief of Staff.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide an overview of the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget for the Mayor and Council Department. Our department serves an important administrative role within the city organization and provides direct support to 7 elected officials, while also supporting departments, advisory boards, and the public through a wide range of essential administrative services. With a staff of 5 employees and 7 elected officials, our office is responsible for maintaining the continuity, transparency, and efficiency of many core government functions. These responsibilities include coordinating council meetings and official notices, maintaining records and public documents, processing public records requests, preparing ordinances and resolutions, supporting advisory boards and committees, managing communications and public information, and ensuring compliance with statutory and procedural requirements. While much of this work occurs behind the scenes, it is foundational to the daily operations of the city government. You're not working?
The one behind them is not working, or in front of the council.
So you all get to just turn around.
Yeah, well, at least on our,
Face the wall.
and we do have our attachments, Connie. I think everyone's got them open.
That's good. During the past year, the department continued to manage a significant workload in support of the city and the public. Staff processed 171 official documents, agreements, leases, and contracts, coordinated 75 city council meetings, processed approximately 2,500 public records requests, prepared 36 proclamations, and managed 616 letters and official correspondence. In addition, staff processed 232 cemetery deeds and department issued 336 media releases and published 474 social media posts while preparing 38 resolutions and 18 ordinances. The department also continues to support important public service and citizen engagement functions. And since the implementation of the C-Click-Fix service reporting software on October 21st, 2025, we've coordinated and processed 506 citizen service requests. The C-Click-Fix platform has improved communications between residents and city departments by providing a more efficient and transparent process for tracking and responding to community concerns and service needs. To date, the city's app has been downloaded to over 300 devices, so we have plenty more to fill up in this city. These figures reflect the broad scope of administrative, legislative, records management, communication, and customer service responsibilities handled by the department on behalf of the city. The proposed FY 2027 budget was developed with an emphasis on fiscal responsibility, operational efficiency, and maintaining high service levels for both the organization and the community. As part of the budget development process, we reviewed operational needs very carefully and prioritized expenditures that directly support efficient and compliant service delivery. Overall, operational expenses have decreased from FY 26. This is a result of the completion of the rebranding project and reduction in election costs for the mayoral runoff election. An important point to highlight is that our operational costs make up approximately 10% of the department's overall budget. The majority of the budget is dedicated to personnel costs, which reflects the service-based nature of the department and the reliance on staff expertise, coordination, and administrative support to carry out our responsibilities effectively. Operational expenditures include technology and software systems, records management, training, publications, and other tools necessary to maintain efficient operations and public accessibility. These investments help ensure the department continues to provide timely information, accurate records management, transparent public processes, and consistent organizational support. One employee retirement is anticipated during fiscal year 2027, and all departments will feel the impact from the loss of 35 years of institutional knowledge. We recognize the importance of succession planning and knowledge transfer to maintain continuity of operations and minimize disruption to services. The proposed budget takes this anticipated transition into consideration as we continue planning for the department's long-term operational goals. Overall, the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget reflects a balanced and responsible approach that supports the city's administrative infrastructure while remaining mindful of taxpayer resources. Our department remains committed to professionalism, accountability, transparency, and providing reliable support services to elected officials, city staff, and the public. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Connie. Council, do we have questions of staff? Yes.
Can you tell me what the intergovernmental transfers are? We had 733,000 in 25, and then it dropped significantly. What was that?
I'll let you take that one.
Oh, the internal services, intergovernmental transfers are the transfers that we make to like the fleet department, to IT services, to what's called administrative, that each department pays for the cost of us to do administration, pays for the cost of HR to make sure that we all have our benefits, to payroll, to make sure that we all get a paycheck. And so some of those costs have been reduced internally.
So the reduction was from 700,000 to 4,000?
When you take internal services and intergovernmental transfers together, finance is taking a different approach and splitting out some of the costs a little differently this year.
Okay.
I guess if a follow-up on Councilmember Swanson's question, and with 25, we budgeted like $5,000, but we spent $733,000. Can you just explain why the huge discrepancy?
Yeah. In FY 2025 actuals, the 700 in the intergovernmental transfers, that one I cannot do. That one's gonna have to be a finance department question. We're not allowed to touch those numbers. Those numbers are budgeted for us. And so, again, those are things like the administrative support costs, the fleet, IT, insurance, employee wellness, that type of, whether we have an employee taking advantage of ISU education program. So
Rich, are you able to explain the different method now?
Rich Morgan, Finance. The biggest cost there is rebranding,
Okay.
and we no longer have those expenses. That's the biggest difference.
So that's where the $750,000
Yes.
for, okay, so that would be,
Okay, that
it
would
was
make
a
sense.
transfer amongst, from Fund 78 that we had saved up for in order to do the rebranding.
So we would assume that the almost 5,000 again that's proposed, we should be closer to that this
That
time.
is correct. Rebranding is cooked and done.
We are finished.
Yay.
We're continuing to use the brand. There was a big expense right up front to get it going.
I have a different question, if that's okay. It's under department goals and needs. It says the electronic document management program is outdated and in need of replacement. Can you explain maybe what we're looking at getting instead, and any idea what the cost would be and how much time it would save?
In 2007, we started with an electronic document management system called Sire. It was bought out by another company a few years later called OnBase. This has been our citywide electronic document management system. It is not functional for public accessibility, which it could cut back on our public records requests. Right now, the public can't even pull up an ordinance or a resolution or any kind of a contract on a public-facing software. So we're looking to change to another software company to upgrade and to make that transparency leap for us. Since it has been about 20 years, there have been some great strides in electronic document management because frankly, we use a lot of paper and not everybody does, and they've been forward thinking to find a great electronic document management options out there. And we need to follow suit in order to maintain that transparency for our citizens.
So with that, I'm you know, a lot of, it seems like a lot of the work that's done in the office, public records request is a big piece of it. Is that fair to say? A lot of time?
There is a lot of time, and that is spread throughout all of the departments, but it is overseen and administrated by the mayor council office.
So if we update it to a new software, is it, outside of just transparency, would it save time, staff time?
It would save staff time, but the overall biggest goal is for the transparency and the accessibility for those documents for the public.
Okay.
Right now, if we have a member of the public who wants to see, for example, the contract that you just approved to have the new city hall feasibility study done, they have to fill out a records request, we have to find it, we have to upload it, and then they can see it. If we were to transfer to something more public facing, that would just be immediately accessible. They could go into the website and that would save staff time.
Thank you.
Connie, on the staff efficiency part of it, is it just a better search feature or is it just like you say, the biggest benefit is the public facing?
The biggest benefit is the public facing. It's what we have right now. Like I said, it's 19 years old and it's not user friendly. We don't have all of our city departments on there. So if one of the departments who doesn't necessarily use it all the time needs something, then they usually have to contact us in order to find that. And so it would improve the efficiency that we have. But overall, electronic document management has improved in the past 20 years, and we'd like to just move along with that.
Councilman Mangum.
So speaking of on-base, Washington Federal Bank uses on-base, and it's great for categorizing or cataloging information, but to retrieve it is a monster. Using it, it's super old, but it's really secure. It's a good service for storing information. But to their point, it's not good to get to help out with these records requests. It helps us out banking wise because, you know, there's some confidentiality and things like that that we're mandated to observe. But I think for this department, specifically for their department, I think it'd be a great idea to get them a new service. But so I have a question though on that. Is there a way that we could find a program or a system that we can use throughout all the footprint of the city to where everybody's downloading onto one site and we can access all of it instead of like on base how not everyone's using it and yeah.
Yes, right now we are exploring our options for some of the electronic document management systems, something that would be citywide as well as forward-facing. We would love to have everybody available and using whatever management system we have.
So my follow-up to that is, say streets is not using that same service and there's a records request. How does that work? Somebody calls the mayor's office, they ask for a request. How do we then follow up on that request to get that sent out to the citizen?
So we still have a centralized public records request system, and that's called Next Request. And so all of the public records requests would still come through that system and assigned to the departments as it's applicable. But Next Request is not an electronic document management system. So that does track all of the documents that are requested by the public, and it holds that information in there. So that service would not change.
Right.
But they would have another on-base of sorts to hold their electronic documents.
So the system gets the request and it sends an email or an alert to the department, and then the department satisfies that request for information, correct?
Close.
Or are you contacting them, getting the information, and then you satisfy?
Yep. If you hop online and you want to make a public records request, you have 3 choices. You can request police records, fire records, or all other departments. This all other departments comes into our office, and then it gets distributed as appropriately. Sometimes it's multiple departments that are included on the request. But a lot of times citizens aren't quite sure what department they're looking for. So we've centralized that to all other departments, and then we manage that and maintain that.
Is that, so it's a manual disbursement to the correct department,
Yeah.
not systematic? Okay. So that does,
There's a person thinking behind that
Yeah.
request so that we get the right thing.
so that is a lot of manpower to funnel those in and then to disperse it to where it needs to go.
It's a huge improvement from what we had.
Yeah.
In 2023, we instituted the Next Request system, and before that, we were tracking them through email and a spreadsheet.
Right.
So this is a huge step up.
True, true.
Yeah, Councilwoman Swanson.
Yeah, so each year, the revenue hasn't covered expenses. So we've got a $600,000 deficit. Well, actually, excuse me. Yeah, $600,000 deficit. And then the proposed budget for this year is a $229,000 deficit. I understand that we're looking at a big picture budget, not just a departmental budget, but maybe Rich, you could also chime in on this why do we have a budget that doesn't zero out here?
Because it's a department in the general fund. That 229,262 will be covered by the shared revenues and property taxes that come into the general fund. We're only showing you
I see.
specific departmental revenues and expenses. So actually, every single general fund department will look like that until you look at the entire general fund, that bottom line.
Okay,
And you'll see all of the revenues in the general fund and all of the expenses in the general fund. And when we go to publish, that will match.
okay.
So,
Our department, we're paper pushers and meeting makers. We don't charge a fee, we don't produce a product that we can charge a fee for, and so that's part of the reason we don't have coverage for revenue as well.
Gotcha. I am curious though, where do we get the beer, wine, and liquor revenue from?
The state of Idaho requires the city clerk to sign off on those licenses, and so when they apply at the police department,
Okay.
they have to bring them over.
We're not selling beer in the lobby.
I wish, no, I mean, we are not, no.
Okay.
No, that is coming
That's
from
from liquor
the
license.
That's a
sale
new
of the
revenue
license.
source.
I gotcha. Okay, thank you.
We are
probably
within
make a little bit
walking
of money
distance,
there.
though.
We are with the walking distance, yes.
Yes, Councilman Nichols, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I understand here. So we have expenses of like $1,143,000, revenue of $913. So the amount of tech support that this requires is only $229,000 for the whole department. Is that right?
that is how it looks from this particular stance. But remember, we do have some intergovernmental transfers that are included in the other departments. It's kind of like a big circle here, how they've done those. So I would hesitate to say that is complete, but it is close. There are some other like each department has those intergovernmental transfers and the internal service transfers. And that adds to that, so.
All right, thank
But
you.
yes, that is the idea.
Yeah, Councilman Bates.
Switching gears a little bit, I want to ask, and Mayor, this may be a question for you more than anything, but I'm wondering what our kind of long-term plan is with the chief of staff position. Last council meeting, our CFO, mentioned that our M&O budgets across departments is below industry standard. Our personnel costs are above industry standard. I personally feel throughout this budget season, something we should really be looking at is how do we bring those costs more in line? And one of the best ways to do that is through attrition, not replacing positions as they become open. But Mayor, you've been in this position, you've worked with our chief of staff directly. I don't know the day-to-day of the office, so I'm just wondering, is there opportunities to restructure this? Maybe rewrite a position description with a lower pay grade? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that the staff is very busy in the mayor's office, and it's been very enlightening to me, just the amount of public presence and the public inquiry, that meeting schedule coordination, and I have, I think, 13 department directors that report to me in coordination and helping facilitate meetings. And I think overall, I get that the, Rich had some good statistics on the salaries, ratios there compared to some other industry standards. But it's just an extremely busy office, and we're so front-facing, and all the emphasis we have right now on the transparency, that it's a busy office, like going through all these stats, like the 2,500 public records requests and the deeds and the media releases and the see-click fix, and it's a need for sure. I would really be swimming without a chief of staff versus like an admin type of assistant. That it's been very enlightening to me to come in and see this coordination. I'd honestly be drowning without a chief of staff.
And I think I personally see that in the office, but I just wanted to make sure from your perspective that, you see it better than any of us do.
Right,
so.
right. One thing I didn't realize is the deputy clerk, Shawnee, of course, she's the frontward facing, takes the calls, but that C-click fix, it's extremely busy. We're getting inquiries all the time, and we have on the bottom of the mayor's newsletter that folks can write in and get their service requests or their complaints answered. One of our deputy clerks spends just an enormous amount of time from those service requests and the C-click fix, above and beyond, kind of coordinating calls and escorting people, and it's been enlightening to me for sure. I get that salary section is important, but I just don't. It would be very tough to have a cut with that right now and be functional.
Well, yeah, I think we have to find salary savings wherever we can, but you got to be smart about it. I'm not convinced this is the best position to look for a salary savings. I'm wondering, Ann, from your perspective, is there anything about the position you feel needs, especially with you leaving, and we're replacing someone with 35 years of experience, anything about the position that needs changed, or can we just backfill your position and everything will keep moving along?
Certainly whenever you lose someone who's been with an organization for a large amount of time, you lose a lot of, historical knowledge. We've seen that over the years. But as far as a plug and play, I really believe that you could probably find someone who could take over my responsibilities. What I do is support the mayor on a daily basis. If he can't make it to a meeting, I go to that meeting for him. If the department heads need a decision and they can't get to him, I can make the decision. There's a lot of things that I have the authority to do, and I don't think you necessarily need that historical knowledge to be able to help the mayor conduct his day-to-day business and get things done. It's helpful, of course, but
Okay, yes.
You downplay yourself quite drastically.
not my personality to not.
I recognize that, but I think that you're a vital part to the mayor's office, and especially the support to the mayor. So I think a plug and play is making it super light. I think it's possible, but that person would have to have some experience in municipal work,
It would be helpful.
or even to say like at a state level even, because you do a lot of interaction with the state and with the county and other municipalities. So I think that it would behoove us that we don't disband that position. But we do find someone who's adequate to serve that role. I do agree with Councilmember Bates that we do got to find salary savings or just financial savings in general for the city. But that is definitely not a position that I would say we play with in the realm of trying to find savings.
Yeah, the one thing that was really, there's a lot that's been insightful, enlightening for me, but the amount of written correspondence that comes in, you know, both letters, emails, phone calls, having that chief of staff to help you answer those, and the chief of staff doesn't like go rogue and on their own and
Right.
answer all of the correspondence, but I don't know if we have a count or whatever, but it is very earth-shattering on how many letters and emails and mayor's newsletter requests that we get that need written correspondence back. And I'm tied up in meetings for most of the day, and that's a huge hole right there. And we converse, and we, you know, our chief of staff understands my priorities, and you kind of get into a groove after a while. But that's one thing that stands out, is just the great amount of correspondence that needs answered, and we answer every request and every letter. None just gets filed away. Yes.
Yeah, just a comment. I think this position is, you know, critical to the operations of the city and should be left in place.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Satterfield?
Yeah, so back to the forward-facing software you're looking at, when you've been looking into it, is there kind of an average of what that would cost?
Well, they don't come cheap, and the biggest expense is taking the electronic files that we have within OnBase right now and transferring them over to a different software. That transition can be quite costly. We've looked at a couple, but because we don't have the money in hand, we haven't gotten super serious, but our initial estimates were between $185,000 and $212,000.
And was that something like our IT would do again to transfer everything, or would we have someone come in and do it all?
It would be both. We work with our IT department to put those into place, and then to manage the software afterwards.
But they would not do the actual physical work to transfer from one to the other. It would have to be, the new company would have to be able to access the old database to transfer it over to make it work into their system.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Councilman Mankum, did you have another question?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, any other questions or feedback? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3 is Legal Department. Jared Johnson, our city attorney, is here, along with Andrea Henderson, our risk manager. They're going to be giving their budget presentation.
This is the fun department.
Oh, yes.
The fun department, we don't get called that very often.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Jared Johnson, City Attorney, and with me is Andrea Henderson, our Risk Manager for the City of Pocatello. The legal department is comprised of 8 people, myself, 3 deputy city attorneys, the risk manager, a senior legal assistant, and 2 legal assistants. Just a quick overview, I won't read this to you, but we really have 3 areas of work that we do. The first is, and they're not in any particular order, but we handle all the in-house legal counsel for the city. We work with the mayor, the city council, all department heads, all staff really, work with every department within the city to handle all legal issues that come about. Contracts, leases, agreements, MOUs, things that come before the council, all the resolutions, the ordinances. And so all the in-house things that happen in the city, we take care of that. The other thing we do is we oversee and are an integral part of the outside litigation that the city is involved in. There are lots of notices of tort claim that come in, which isn't necessarily a lawsuit yet. It's the beginning phases of a lawsuit. We handle multiple notices of tort claims every month. Some of those actually advance towards a lawsuit and become a lawsuit, and then we work with either our outside counsel or we handle some of those in-house, and we deal with those civil litigation lawsuits for the city, in which the city is named as a party or a city official is named as a party. And then third, and probably one of our biggest time commitments, is the criminal side, which you as council and mayor don't often see, but it does happen. We prosecute all of the infractions and misdemeanors cited by the Pocatello Police Department. And that is handled primarily by the 3 deputy city attorneys. That is a good portion of their caseload, of their typical workload from day to day, and we handle a lot of those. Just to give you some numbers on those, in fiscal year 25, we handled 1,345 misdemeanor cases. That's 1,345 individual cases that had multiple hearings per case. We have multiple pretrials, we have motions to suppress, motions in limine, other hearings before trial, and then sometimes they do result in a full jury or court trial. So those 1,300 cases are much more than 1,300 court appearances by those 3 attorneys. We also handled 558 infractions in fiscal year 25. And of those cases that I just mentioned, 225 were domestic battery cases. Those were probably our most serious misdemeanor cases. Pursuant to Idaho law, felonies are handled by the county. And so any felony cited by or arrested or investigated by the City of Pocatello Police Department is handled at the county level. But we're actually involved in those as well as we're doing the investigation, as the officers have questions about different procedures as they're going forward, preparing that case to turn over to the county prosecutor's office. So we're actually involved at a felony level as well in a lot of those cases. So as you can see, we have a lot of criminal involvement in the prosecution side for the City of Pocatello. On the civil side in fiscal year 25, we had a lot of things come forward as well. We had 611 contracts, agreements, or other miscellaneous documents that were prepared by our office. Interestingly, we went back and looked at some numbers to see how the numbers are looking. In fiscal year 18, so 7 years prior, that number was 313, so almost half. So the workload has increased substantially over the years. And I'm happy to say that the number of FTEs, of full-time employees needed to handle that, has not increased. In fact, we've made some reorganizations within the legal department over the last several years that have decreased the number of people that we have working on that higher number of workload. So we're very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish with just 8 of us. And truly, there's 7 of us, because as you'll hear in a minute, Andrea is in the legal department. She supervises the legal assistants, but she's actually in a different fund as the risk manager. And so you'll see what she does in addition to everything I just mentioned within the legal department as risk manager. Going through our budget, we, like other departments, went through everything that we could. We kept flat everything that we could. We do have certain subscriptions for our legal research that are committed to an increase, a slight increase each year. But as far as our travel, our training, our lodging, all the budget lines that we have any discretion on, those budget lines we have kept flat. The big driver in our department, because we don't do projects, we don't build bridges, we don't pave roads, is personnel. And with the personnel increases that council is looking at, that's the biggest driver for the increase in our budget. But we have kept everything else flat. And like Rich mentioned with the mayor and council department, we do show a difference between revenue and expenditures as a general department fund that will be made up with with taxes and revenue when those final numbers come before you. I mentioned earlier the FTE positions. One of our legal assistants, our senior legal assistant, is actually a 3/4 time employee, so it's not even a full 7 employees in that department. And then right now we have no vacant positions. That is the quick overview of the legal department. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes.
Could you explain what the internal services line is? What covers, what's covered in that?
Yes, well, I would mostly defer to finance for that one, but that is basically I believe it's similar to the intergovernmental transfers and split out somewhere that way so that we can provide the services that we provide to all the other departments within the city of Pocatello.
So that is correct. With OpenGov, we're actually going to be combining the internal services and the intergovernmental transfers. It's all the same thing. It's us setting up OpenGov and trying to hit buckets that make sense. And so as we're looking through things, we realize, because it's still not the final OpenGov numbers, but it's still the interdepartment transfers. So it's still part of the same.
So that, those numbers represent investment in OpenGov. Is
Yes.
that right?
Not investment in OpenGov, it's the interdepartment transfers, so like they're helping to pay for some of the mayor's budget or fleet or fuel. They don't have fleet or fuel, I apologize. Unless you want it.
So just so I understand, in general, if departments purchase services
Correct.
from other departments, and that's
Correct.
what the internal services and intergovernmental are.
That is
that right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Councilman Nichols.
So, am I reading this correct here? Under internal services, we have $78,000. Is that all that you're charging totally, all the other departments? Because it seems just incredibly low.
No, that's not what they're charging, that's what they're paying.
No, I'm sorry, that's what I meant. What they're paying you is only 78,000?
Yes, we were able to find some categories that could be adjusted for this year to have some savings internally. So that's all the legal department has to pay to all the other departments, and I have breakdowns of all those if needed.
All right, thank you.
I just had a question about the budget process in general. So prior to coming before council, am I to understand that each department that's presenting to us today has already conferred and planned for this process and day with the finance department? Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this
So
is-
everybody's been given access to OpenGov, and everybody was able to put in their expenses. So again, there's probably certain categories we don't have correct, but this is where everybody feels like is a good place for them until we look at the overall budget.
Okay.
Okay.
So you said you found some cost savings for, per Brent's question. So reduction of, I don't know,
Internal services,
internal
that is
services.
correct.
Yeah, yeah. Is that something that then you sit down together and work on? Like, how can we reduce this cost, or how
It
does
was
that
just,
happen?
it was a little bit more entailed than that, and we still have some more work to do as far as intergovernmental services, but it's gonna take a little bit to really analyze. But just the initial look, it was looking at what was going on in the big picture, and then being able to talk to the department that it was charging that, to see if, in general, we could lower that expense for this year, or, so it's making sure the communication's open, but there's a little more work to do on some of the internal services.
So just so we understand, and the public does too, that before this budgeting season comes up, the CFO and team are doing budget analysis, like looking at
Correct.
the numbers and making suggestions for savings and
That is correct.
appropriate spending. Okay,
Right,
thank you.
but we can't, tell a department where they can or can't save money. We're just giving ideas on where the money can.
But you do
be
advise,
saved.
yes. Thank you.
And Rich did advise early on with my consultation on the overhead and management to keep that flat. That
We
all
had
the
it flat or
departments
lower is what we were able
had
to do.
that directive going into it.
Yes.
And yes,
So Jared, I'm just wondering, so I assume, and this is probably for every department, the personnel increase that we're seeing, that's just the step in 1.5% that we're showing in there. So I just did some basic math on your number of employees with your personnel costs. Do you feel, Jared, and I know this would just be an estimation on your part, but if we had a deputy city attorney leave, are our salaries at or near market rate in your estimation? Are we competitive with our wages?
It's a great question. No, actually, I think we're low, to be quite honest, especially if we were to start at a step one with a new employee. There's been quite a bit of adjustment in the legal field in the last few years, primarily due to the Public Defense Commission. It's not a bad thing, but the Public Defense Commission was funded at a state level and has funded public defenders at a very high rate of pay across the state, much higher than they were getting a few years ago. What that's done is drive up salaries for pretty much government attorneys across the board, prosecutors' offices, the Public Defense Commission attorneys, conflict private public defenders, and so the market has changed, absolutely. The city of Pocatello used to be slightly ahead of the curve when it came to attorneys. I'll admit that. It was easy to fill those open positions from other government entities or from attorneys that had the right experience, and it's very difficult now. You see prosecutors' offices across the state that are struggling to fill the positions because they're not funded at a state level, they're funded at a county level, and they have those levy rate caps that they're working with, whereas the Public Defense Commission, again, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying they're overpaid. I'm saying that it has affected the market. So the honest answer to your question is our starting rates for new attorneys are below market. Luckily for us, we're fully staffed. We have attorneys that have been here for a while, and I think they're happy with where they're at on our chart, but it is a concern that I have. If we were to lose an attorney, it would be very difficult to fill that position.
And the 84,000 in professional and contracted services, what all does that include?
Ooh, great question. I'm going to defer to Andrew. She manages the more line to line. Do you have
Okay.
the details on that?
That is for mostly for our outside counsel legal fees. If we were to have to pay outside counsel and it's not covered by ICRIMP, we have those funds to do that. Sometimes it has to be pushed off onto the specific department that's related to the lawsuit, but we do try to keep that within our budget if at all possible.
So most of our cases are covered by ICRIMP through our insurance provider, but there have been cases in the last few years that are not covered by ICRIMP that are so specialized that we needed a litigator that handles that type of litigation, handling that case, which costs the city some fund, quite a bit of money. And so we keep that there for that eventuality because it's almost certain to happen occasionally. Not every year, but it's worth keeping.
Councilwoman Swanson.
How many tort claims does the city receive?
Oh,
In a year?
actually, I have that number. For FY 26, 25, we received 106 tort claims.
And of those 106 tort claims, how many of them were, maybe had merit, or what, is there or advanced in terms of
Percentage. You mean advanced to litigation?
advanced to litigation, or in some way became a case that demanded a significant piece of staff time? I don't know what the,
Well, once we turn the
measure is.
claims over to ICRIMP, it's just a matter of coordinating the information, getting to them so they can make an appraisal on the case to see if we can accept it or deny it. Idaho code is very specific on what liability a municipality or a government agency has, so it has to fall within
sure.
those parameters. So once we turn the claim over, our staff time's pretty minimal on a tort claim. We do have to do some coordination with employees, talking with the insurance adjusters to just see, get information and their take on the claims. About, I'd say maybe 10 of those went to litigation last year. But consider if we are getting sued in the federal courts, they do not have to file a tort claim. So we may never get a tort claim on those, they just proceed to litigation.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is how many of those are superfluous, sort of silly
I
things that.
don't have
No?
the accepted denial statistics.
Okay.
We do get a lot of tort claims that are denied, and that's the end of them.
Okay, ICRIMP, it goes to ICRIMP and then ICRIMP denies that, or
Right.
or we do.
Well, ICRIMP denies in consultation with us, and sometimes a denial doesn't mean they can't move forward towards a lawsuit. It just means that we don't settle it at that stage. And there are quite a few that happen that way, but then the ones that progress obviously take more time on our part and on ICRIM's part.
Yeah, and Councilman Bates, just kind of a follow-up to the compensation. It is an issue that I see with certain positions. Since getting in here, we've had to fill quite a few. We've talked a lot internally and maybe even at the council level as well about a compensation study. And I believe it's been since 2004 since we did the last full compensation study. So we know that we're overdue. And then in hiring, that you may know this already, but we have a little bit of flexibility with the steps that you don't have to necessarily bring someone in, especially a professional department head level at a step one, that we've gone above that. We periodically will do a step two or step three, or if it's really, significant, even higher than that.
Yeah,
But we've got that tool already, but we're overdue for a
I think
compensation study.
that should be a priority as a compensation study, so.
Okay, any other questions? Because if not, we'll move to agenda item 4, which is the risk management workers' compensation. So Andrea, I think you'll take the lead on that.
As soon as I find it. Oh, right there.
So as Jared mentioned, I am a department of one, sort of. I'm funded by risk, but I'm actually located in the legal department. Our mission statement is basically to administer a risk management program utilizing our insurance, loss prevention, and then safety programs to hopefully prevent not only claims for the city, tort claims, but also workers' compensation claims. I handle, in addition to the tort claims and litigation, all of the workers' compensation claims within the city, and then also the drug and alcohol program that we have for CDL drivers. So you can see our budget. I was unable to keep our budget flat. Did you hear that? We had,
It's kind of sensitive sometimes.
an increase, obviously, in our insurance premium, which we expect every year. The increases are getting bigger and bigger each year, and I think that's just industry standard for insurance. It's not us in particular, but I think you all know y'all pay more insurance. This year, we had an increase of over $200,000. And some of that was because of the assets that we added to the city. Additionally, over the past 4 years, we've been going through every asset that we had insured through ICRIMP, and we found that we either had things very much undervalued. There were things that we hadn't had on our insurance ever. Where there were some updates, maybe we did some remodels that increased the value. Additionally, there were some assets that we had that we didn't even own anymore. So I had tremendous help from all of the departments, and we went through all of the properties that we own, all of the vehicles that we own, and then there's another tab that's property in the open is what ICRIMP calls it, and what those are is our pump sites, our water retention ponds, our water towers, those kinds of things that aren't actual facilities or buildings, but they're still assets that we should insure. And that's where we had the biggest issue. They were incredibly underinsured. Some of our pump houses we had insured for like $30,000. And that wouldn't even cover, a partial loss if we had it. So engineering went through and helped me develop a new list, which increased all of the value of the properties that the city owns. That's then increased our premiums. So that's the only increase that we had to put into the liability budget, but I don't know a way around it.
Any other questions? Councilman Bates?
So prior to you doing this, was anyone managing city assets?
Managing, yes. I don't think that what kind of got me thinking was the loss at Highland. And I wondered if how long it had been since we had done this. And it'd been years and years and years. And so that's kind of what sparked this, is we need to make sure we have insurance for our facilities so we don't run into any issues if we do suffer a loss.
And you said you found some assets that maybe the city could get rid of, or
Well, I think we had gotten rid of them.
gotten rid of them, but we still.
But nobody had had notified iCrimp of that. I don't know that there was a communication. I don't think anybody ever thought to do it. So if we had a loss or we sold a building or, decommissioned a building or something, then it just wasn't getting reported.
Mr. Mayor? So are we now insured to market value on
We
all
sure
our
are.
properties? Okay.
Yes, for
Great.
today.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Can you help me understand under revenues where it says insurance charges? How is that a revenue?
I don't know. Simple answer.
Okay. Here's somebody who does.
Chantel with finance. So that is part of the interfund transfers. There's a certain portion we charge to each department and we bring that revenue in. It just kind of brings a little additional to help offset insurance costs. So in the interfund charges down in the expenses for each department, there's a small charge for insurance.
I see.
It doesn't pay for it by far, but it does help.
It does help, okay. So the significant increase between FY '25 and FY '26, that's because insurance premiums rose? And so we had to take more from the department and I'm almost a doubling there.
Yeah, I think that's when they started charging departments, if that makes
I see.
sense. So it realized that there was, it took a lot of property tax. I mean, it's all property tax and all the other revenue, but they started specifically charging departments a certain percentage in '25, from what I can tell based on the historical stuff I'm looking at.
I see. So that accounts for the increase in revenue.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank
Thank
you. Okay, next we have Human Resources Department, Jay Seedall, Human Resources Director. He's here to give us a presentation about their '27 budget, and Holly as well.
Yes. Thank you for your time this morning, and yes, as the mayor said, I'm Jay Seedall, Director of Human Resources, and Holly.
Holly Harnsberger, HR Benefits and Compliance Coordinator.
So this is the mission statement. I want to walk through. This is the mission statement that we have out there on the actual website itself, where the mission of the City of Pocatello Human Resources Department is to partner with the city operations and to develop and maintain human resources services, programs, policies that create an optimal work environment for serving the citizens of Pocatello. And the organization itself, relatively small. So I am the director. Holly here is the compliance coordinator and HR benefits expert that we have. We have two generalists that are currently occupied by Abigail Newell and then Kenzie Evans. And then we do have an HR assistant position that is vacant that I'll talk a little bit about in a moment here as we go through the budget. About the department itself, I want to walk through some of these. I know you can read them, but I think they're important to walk through and I'll answer some of your questions maybe ahead of time. Recruitment and selection. We identify and hire full-time people. The city itself has about 600 full-time positions, a little more than that, and about 200 seasonal variable positions. So if you look at the work, just since I've been here, that Abby has worked on, she has hired everybody that's working all those summer seasonal jobs, and it is a tremendous amount of work of hiring, and then also on processing those, of getting paperwork and I-9s and those forms, and to get them actually onboarded. When the season ends, we will then terminate those people administratively when they go back to school and other things. So there's a lot of work, especially in these summer months. Job rec classification and compensation, as you mentioned, questions you asked is, yes, we look at the job classification organizations and we have quite a few different pay charts, if you will. I think to Councilman Bates, there are some questions around, are we adequately paying people? Are we under market? Are we over? It's an ongoing discussion. We reviewed quite a few of those, and you saw in the recent council meeting that we went through a few proposals and changes. But there is, when budgets allow, to go through a full compensation evaluation and make sure that we're paying people adequately. The third is around benefit administration. And one thing about the city is the benefits is a competitive advantage that we may have. And it's critical that employees are educated on what benefits that they have, that they're enrolled, and they're clearly taking advantage of what's really offered to them. And so we spend quite a bit of time making sure that people are educated. And Holly will talk in a moment here about the app that we use that really is, I think, a very top-notch app that helps people know what benefits they have. Labor and employee relations, as we mentioned, we are just wrapped up an MOU with the fire department last week. Finished at least the initial negotiations with the police department, especially led with Jared from the legal department. And so we have active 2 unions, again, the Fraternal Order of Police and then the fire department. And we are working towards negotiations of hopefully every 4th year and offsetting every other year or every 2 years for the respective departments. Training and development, those are things that there's some online training and some required training. And the one opportunity we have for the next year is some more in-person training, especially with our supervisors, some do's and don'ts and helping them understand their roles and responsibilities and keeping them benefiting their teams, but also strengthening their supervisory skills. Policy and compliance. We need to ensure all city operations comply with federal and state laws such as FMLA, ADA, and EEO standards. And that is an ongoing discussion we have, especially with supervisors. Workforce planning, and we talked a little bit this morning, is to identify some long-term staffing needs and implement solutions for those organizations. And that's an ongoing discussion that we should have. One of my suggestions is we do that even more robust, proactively, just not when we know we have a 35-year person that's going to leave a big hole in the organization, but how do we do that proactively? Culture, I could have broken this one out, but we need to promote our value-based culture and wellness initiatives. And I was looking at the city, as I think about not the proposition, but the welcoming and inclusion city resolution that was passed in 2020, we need to make sure that we are living up to those values. And then as far as the wellness is that we are helping educate people and incentivizing them to be well, both physically but also emotionally, and investing into their health. And then last but not least, advisory services. We spend quite a bit of time providing guidance to city leaders on disciplinary actions and some organizational effectiveness. And so you never know what your day is going to turn into in human resources. So there's 3 different budgets we'll talk about. There's an HR budget, there is a wellness budget, and then there is an educational budget. And they're all under the same presentation. I'm going to skip down. Well, you can see that our budget will take out, as we've talked with others, we don't really generate any revenue. So ours is really around the expense side. And I'm going to skip down to our bottom number here, which is our total expenses. We've been able to, in the HR department, is to decrease our budget by about $28,000, and we did it 2 ways. One is the change in the HR director job. There's a little bit of a cost savings there from prior incumbent to me. And then changes from last year, we had planned for 3 HR generalists, along with Holly's job and my job, and we're going to actually reduce that generalist to an HR assistant. As I mentioned, there is a lot of seamless documents and a lot of changes administratively that happen in the system. That HR assistant job, that was a change last year that I'm kind of undoing, but that's a savings of almost $23,000 right there. That work has not gone away, and that job is currently open, and I think we're receiving applications up through this Wednesday. So we're able to go down in that budget itself. Any questions about the HR budget?
So this going from a generalist to an assistant, is that efficient for the amount of work that's going to be done or that is currently being done?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and the explanation for that, and I think it was a good try, or at least a good change, but the HR generalist work, I think about Abby focuses primarily on recruiting and then other HR generalist work. Holly here focuses on benefits and wellness and education and other things. The one piece that we're missing from a generalist side is the compensation piece. How are we looking at our comp model and our jobs positioned correctly? And so that job will still do HR generalist work, but have more of a stronger focus on comp, will be their role. So this HR assistant, there's a lot of work that gets processed. So for example, as we talked about the requests that come in, that HR assistant position fulfills a lot of those comp requests. We have quite a few of those that come through the HR door, and then we push them back through the mayor's office, and they get released at that point. Please.
So we've spoken about a compensation study. Is that something that we could do with internal resources, or is that something that we would outsource to a consultant? And if so, what's the cost either way?
The last one we did was in 2014. That was the full compensation model study. And the cost of that, I don't have that, but we know it's well over a six-figure study to have that robust outside view to do it. That was done 2014. We do have good relationships. In fact, I asked Holly to talk about that, but we work with other organizations. We might request from Idaho Falls or Twin Falls or Caldwell, Nampa, and others, and we can request information to look at individual roles. But anything else to add on that, Holly?
Frankly, where compensation is such a personal issue, everybody, nobody works for free, right? I sure as heck don't. I enjoy coming to work, but I'm not going to do it for free. I do think it is imperative for us to maintain those relationships with comparable municipalities. However, I really highly recommend actually having that outside bird's eye point of view to really look at the entire city as a whole and the entire organizational structure. We do the best we can internally to do those comps and the analysis. However, no city is going to be built the same way or structured the same way, and so we're never going to be able to compare apples to apples. So while I do know it is a hefty cost and we do everything we can to try to keep things internal and do the best we can, frankly, I think having an external study is going to be more in our favor moving forward.
How is that budgeted for? I mean, is that something that you want to include on the 2027 proposed budget, or?
It's a great question. We went through, and I'm kind of new to the process, but we put that as part of a wish list, if you will, as the overall city is looking at other initiatives. We put that as a priority, and I think it ended up in the top 10 priority. But I think that'll be talked about maybe a little later, Rich, is that right? Okay, about additional projects. And I think we budgeted in there, and we do not have an exact cost yet what that would be, but I know it was well over six figures. I don't remember the exact amount. The other thing I would add is, if the last comp study was done in 2014, the world really changed compensation-wise around COVID. I mean, that was such a flashpoint. Where I worked before in the medical industry, it was a significant change and a burden on that organization, on others. And so we need to go back and relook at those numbers. But yes, we can pull numbers individually, or we can request other entities, and they're great to provide data, and we do the same.
And maybe you've already answered this, but internally, the department directors and myself, with my oversight, we look at those wish list needs that kind of aren't in the budget, and we rank them. And as Jay said, the compensation study is in there. So my thought process was toward the end of budget time, we take a look at those top priorities as a council and see what we can work in. But we do discuss those kind of outside priorities quite regularly internally.
So that's not within the actual HR budget for this proposal.
I see.
I'm wondering, on a compensation study, would it also look at, staffing ratios and the amount of upper level management, middle management that we have, if there's areas that we're overstaffed or we have positions created that don't need to be management positions? Would that be included, or would this strictly look at compensation?
So a lot of the compensation models I've seen are usually blinded, right? They will talk about in general, here are the roles, but we could include that as well. So you look at an HR department, what's a normal ratio of HR support to an organization of nearly 800 people? Legal is another one. You would say, what's the number of attorneys it would typically be for this size of an organization? So those can be included in a comp model too.
Okay. And then just quickly, I was wondering about, with the recruitment and selection, with that, the work that's done there, I mean, I can understand that is a lot, seasonal employees, it's a lot of work, getting all of that paperwork done. Do we have a system, what do we use to make that easier? Or is it really just an internal system, our own paperwork?
So we use, two parts. On the recruiting selection, we use a system called Caldera that was introduced.
It was last year.
Last year. And that's been, I think, a fairly good system. Mm-hmm. Gabby spoke pretty high of it. We're looking at some other options, some other IT options that could combine those with other IT solutions. But so that works well. But the internal process, when someone brings in the driver's license or a I-9 certification, those have to be done for the most part. There's some manual operation with that. Other questions on the HR budget before we go to wellness?
I think you're good to move along.
Okay. So Holly's going to talk about wellness. She's our wellness correspondent here. come down to here.
Perfect. All right, so the wellness program, it's incredibly important, you know, for a variety of reasons. It helps drive engagement. Having a healthy workforce can be a huge benefit, particularly in terms of our insurance premiums. You know, the healthier the population we have, typically we don't have to pay as much in medical claims, and so it has a positive effect moving forward when it does come time to have insurance renewals. Not to mention just having a healthy workforce, both physically and mentally, it's good, right? It's what you would like to have as your staff, someone who's nice and healthy, and if they're healthy at home and outside of work, they can bring that to work. There's a huge ROI. So we have the wellness budget, and within the wellness budget, we're actually changing the way we're funding it this year. Typically, we would have a large interfund change and just charge the departments several, or for the funds that we use for the department. However, we do have a pretty high reserve this year, so it's my understanding we're using reserves in order to fund the wellness program for fiscal year 27. And our biggest expense for the wellness program is actually our Health Joy app, which we offer to everybody who is eligible or who's on our medical plan. The Health Joy app is a blessing. It has a really high utilization rate. We've got 85% of our staff that uses it regularly. And frankly, it makes my life easier every single day. There's a lot of benefits to it. You can have digital benefits cards, so you don't have to carry your cards in your wallet. They do provider recommendations. They do medical bill reviews. One of the most lucrative things on there is that we actually have a telehealth program where you can just log right into Teladoc, not have to go to the doctor. But the biggest cost savings there is that there's no copay, and it actually doesn't hit our insurance plan. You know, and so we really encourage the use of telehealth, especially for small things, you know, like an ear infection or something that, you know, you just need an antibiotic for. That is one of our larger costs. We did get our renewal rate for, if we were to extend our contract for 1 year, they would offer a 3% increase, but then we will reevaluate next year. However, if we are willing to sign a 2-year contract this year, we'll actually have a flat. There'll be no increase for this year or the next year after that, which is what I highly recommend, and hopefully have your support on that. The other costs that go with the wellness program, we do have a very robust health fair that we host every fall, and this is really, it's huge to educate our employees. They come in and they can get their blood work done. Last year, we even offered on-site wellness exams. You know, it provides a whole bunch of education and incentive for people to take those steps towards their health here at work. And then the remaining of the budget goes towards our challenges. You know, we like to do lots of fun things throughout the year, and it really helps with engagement and helps promote a healthy lifestyle, you know, to see if we can get active and change behaviors and do whatever we can to take a proactive approach to wellness in general.
I think Councilman Mangum had a question.
Go ahead.
So our wellness program, how does that impact our experience as we're shopping for insurance and other benefits?
So we do get data throughout the year of, you know, we never put names to it, but we can see what conditions are being treated most frequently. Not everything can be prevented, you know, but there are some things like diabetes that can be behavioral based. And so then we can kind of have a challenge, you know, we're doing the Get Out and Go challenge right now, actually, to just encourage getting outside and moving our bodies and things along those lines. I'm working on creating a nutrition challenge that we'll be implementing next to just help educate and things along those lines. So if we can have the engagement to help change some of those behaviors, you know, that can maybe limit the amount of diabetes that we're treating. And so really it's just taking that proactive approach.
And Holly, the way I understand, just to clarify yours, that I don't think, like when we shop around for insurance, there's any kind of a discount for that. I think we just implement these wellness programs in the hopes that our experience is better? Maybe to kind of
Yeah,
clarify what you're asking.
Yeah, essentially that is right. The healthier of a population we have, the lower experience we typically have. And
But
so,
they don't give us a discount or anything for doing this. We just, kind of that belief that it'll lead to lower doctor visits.
essentially, yes.
But the point of them getting wellness exams, and we incentivize people, right? They get funds put into their VIBA account, but the goal is for them to hopefully, not to find, but if they were to identify situations early, it reduced medical costs significantly on the backside. And so that's really the reason for those wellness visits.
Okay, sure.
So you said that 85% of employees have downloaded or used? Downloaded or used the health?
Both,
Journal?
they're activated, and
Okay.
I can show a cost savings of $20,000 for last year just for telehealth alone. And then I think our most actively used feature is just the digital wallets card, and then also the provider recommendation. It's really nice because you can literally just say, hey, I'm looking for a dentist, and it is loaded with our plan information, so you can find someone who's right in network. So it's a feature that's used very heavily.
Is there an additional number of employees that engage in some type of wellness program? I'm just trying to, it sounds like we have really good engagement with wellness. So so 85% of the people are on the Health Joy app. That's one chunk of engagement. Is there another
It's
10% that aren't on the Health Joy app but take advantage of the Fun Run series?
Oh,
or
sure,
do
yeah.
that
So
kind of thing?
you do have to be on our medical plan in order to actually be eligible for Health Joy, because it's tied directly with the medical plan. And so, there's a lot of people that are on their spouse's plan or different plans, and so they're not eligible for that. But yes, we have a lot of people. In fact, we have record-breaking numbers for the Fun Run series that we're working on. Last year we saw 25 employees, and I think we had over 30 this year. So not a huge increase. But we do see people regularly engage in the activities. I'm going to be super honest, we've had a lot of change in HR this year, and so wellness has not been in the spotlight, but we're really working on ramping that back up and getting that engagement higher and higher.
Okay. Other questions? Okay.
I'll go to our third part here, which is on the educational part of our budget. Don't know how to run this mouse, apparently. So the city offers educational assistance, and it's for full-time and some half-time employees who've been in the city for over 12 months. The requests have to come through. They come through early in the year, and then with that, HR and supervisors have to approve them to go back to school, either work towards a bachelor's degree or an advanced degree. And I believe it's up to $3,000 annually for a bachelor's degree and up to $5,000 for an advanced degree. And then there are some requirements around there with what their grades have to be to receive reimbursement. And just to clarify, I believe they front the cost and the city reimburses them.
That is correct.
So this year we have, and you'll see a jump in this, but it's also, as Holly talked about, the same interfund type of thing that we have. But there is not, if I correct, we do not have, we're not charging other departments for education this year.
Chantel with Finance, yes. This particular account had a fund balance, and so instead of charging each department, we decided to use the reserves. We really are trying to make sure other departments are not making money off of other departments. So this particular account fit the bill. This is the estimation on who who has requested to go to school, but that doesn't mean that's what the actuals are. Your actuals fall a little bit more in line with the 56,000, but we want to budget just in case everybody who is requested education, that we have allowed that in the budget.
So with that, we have 27 people who have been approved to do that, and it's just a little over $100,000. It's 101 for this next fiscal year. But as Chantel was saying, that number will probably, depending on what people go on with their lives, whether they pass class or actually enroll, is probably going to be close to half of that for the usage. And that's why we are budgeting to those that have submitted.
Yes.
So the degree that they pursue, does it have to be tied to a city need or function or position, or like, can you be in sanitation and, I don't know, getting a degree that would not be used by the city at all?
So it's a good question. I know it's got to be approved by HR and their supervisor. If it is education and training for their specific job, that kind of hits more the training budget. Around the rules, around, it should be tied to advancing their career. I don't know if we've had anything that have been outside of that that's really out of bounds. But I think our due diligence should be, these degrees should advance the city. We should be paying for something for them to leave the city would be.
But there's a check and balance on that, it sounds like, so, okay.
To follow up on his point or his question, is there a certain amount of time that they have to remain with the city after this payment is made, or they get the degree and they just bounce?
So they do have to work here for a full year after their last reimbursement date. If not, they do have to pay back for the previous 12 months of reimbursement.
Okay.
Any other questions? Good.
Doesn't look like it.
Thank you.
I think we're good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, can we take 5?
Yes, we can. This 5 minutes long enough. Okay, quick 5-minute break. That'll put us back here at 10:20.
You don't live in the beach.
All right, and we will move right into, I think we've got all but one here. Oh, there's, okay. So building department, item number 6 on the agenda, Mark Howell is here, building official in attendance to give the 2027 presentation. We have April Murphy here as well. Welcome.
Good, thank you. Good morning, council members and mayor. My name is Mark Howell. We have not met. I'm under 2 months in, so I'll give it my best shot.
We met.
We met, Corey and I met. Okay. But, and I'm new to the city as well. So I'm like the mayor, drinking from a fire hose, getting to know the roads, the streets, the projects, the developers, the builders, and the residents. So I will give it my best shot. With me, as the mayor said, is April Murphy, one of the MVPs of the building department team. There was an absence of a building official and for several months, and the building department kept it together. So I'm very, very lucky and very fortunate to have a good team underneath me. I'll kind of keep it short and sweet. I spent probably half my time so far out in the field, so I have been not crunching the numbers too hard. But we are kind of a self-sufficient department. You know, we're in the black because we get fees. I think a lot of that stemmed from, we did some fee increases back in the fall for the trades, something that apparently hasn't not been done for quite a long time. So that's helped our bottom line. A little bit about the department. We ensure that all structures under construction meet the standards set in the city's adopted building codes for life, safety, and general welfare for the public and first responders. This is achieved through timely, informative, and consistent field inspections. We also promote economic development through professional customer-based services to the community as a whole. Some of our department goals: provide helpful, transparent, informative guidance and exceptional customer service from the beginning of the permit process through certificates of occupancy. We develop positive working relationships with the build community through communication and cooperation to work towards shared goals of efficient and effective processes. We also promote awareness and understanding of the city's codes and ordinance. A lot of what we do is education. Educate builders, educate residents, and that's where we are. As far as the numbers, our revenues are increasing slightly for the from 26 to 27. A lot of that has to do with what I previously stated about the fee increases on some of the trade permits. Our expenses from 26 to 27 are approximately the same, just some slight adjustments. Permits, we've gone down in permits from 24 to 25 and then to 26, but our revenues have increased, and a lot of that stems from the new commercial development. We're going away from single-family homes to more multifamily construction, and with that, that brings more revenue to the bottom line for us. And that is about it. Is there any questions or concerns?
Yes.
So with that change from single family to more multifamily housing, how is that affecting our inspection caseload? Does it take more time to inspect that?
Yes, very astute observation, council member. Yes, larger buildings, I mean, we have some buildings that are 48 units. And that takes, instead of the typical 15, 20, 25 minutes, it can be a couple hours to do. So we are very busy in the inspection field. That's why I've been helping out in the field. And it helps me get out, get to know where the projects are, get to know some of the developers and the builders as well. But yes, they do take a little bit longer. And right now, we probably got about 5 or 6 major apartment building complexes going on. And we anticipate some more of that. That's why we've increased the revenue.
And so I guess from a service level standpoint, what is kind of our, from the time a developer is asking for a plumbing inspection, how quickly are we able to get that scheduled and be on site for them? Have we seen a delay in that, or where are we at?
No, we've always gotten our inspections done within 24 hours.
Awesome.
So we always get them, as soon as they're scheduled, we get it done within a day. The amount of time that the inspections take has increased, and as far as compared to single-family homes, the number of inspections per permit is at the very minimum doubled. There's so many more on a commercial building than there would be on a residential, single-family, townhome, things like that.
So it's very busy.
Yeah, Councilman Nichols.
Can the contractors or developers order their inspections online, or is it done over the phone, or how's it? It's all online, okay.
We do allow them, if they want, they can call and make the request over the phone. We're happy to help people that want to do it that way. So, but a majority of people are utilizing our online software systems. They are able to do that online. The nice thing with that is it's available 24/7. So they can schedule an inspection at 8 o'clock at night, midnight. We've seen them come in at all different times. So it has been a beneficial thing, I think, to help.
Great, thank you.
That.
Yeah, Councilman Paulson.
Have you noticed, when was it, in the fall, last summer, when we canceled the Chubbuck inspection contract? Have you noticed if that's helped times in Pocatello?
The funny thing is we're still doing a lot of Chubbuck inspections because we had to finish the projects that we started. So we are actually still doing daily inspections at Chubbuck. Obviously, it has slowed down a little bit. We anticipate probably still, it is slowly dropping off. A lot slower than I thought it would be, but
But we're
it
making
will.
some revenue from that
We are-
as well.
Yeah, so.
Okay, Councilwoman Satterfield.
Yes, how do you feel the speed of the permit process is going? Do you feel like you guys are getting them done in the right amount of time? Is there something, I mean, again, I don't know anything about this. I want to know what you're saying, but, or do you feel like there's something we can do to speed up that process?
I think we do pretty good. I mean, the initial review process, as soon as a permit application comes in, all the department staff usually has that very first initial review done within 10 business days, which is, I've researched other jurisdictions, and that's actually probably one of the faster timelines for the initial review. The rest of it, if there's revisions required on a permit, that is going to be completely dependent on how fast the applicant gets the revisions to us. So a permit could take anywhere from, 10 days if they get everything in order and it's all correct. That review and everything could be done within 10 days, business days. If we're waiting on applicants to get correct revisions, I mean, it could take anywhere to 20 to 30. It just depends a lot on if there's revisions required. The staff do a pretty good job of meeting their deadlines, so.
You know, follow up on that from my perspective. I think everybody works hard to get like all the assignments done. But it's still a goal of ours to get better coordination. You know, for example, we were chatting last week about, you know, departments because when someone applies for a permit, there's lots of divisions and that's, and depending on what the permit is to go through. And so, it's a goal of ours, a goal of mine for sure, to have better coordination, I think is a big key. And, you know, one division working concurrently with the other to do their review versus stopping and waiting and stopping and waiting. I think we're getting better at that, but there's still some systemic changes with the whole process that, you know, we're still continuing to work on. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Another follow-up question. So I thought, I'm gonna go through the process of getting a permit. And I noticed on the, you know, online when you're filling stuff out, that you have to fill out, some with the license, contracting has to fill that out. And when I was going through that process, does every permit you get, you have to have a licensed bonded person, on that permit? So say I'm a homeowner and I know how to do something, but I need a permit, can I still get it without being licensed bonded, you know, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or does it depend on what it is?
No, well, so a homeowner, in our code, it specifically says a homeowner that wants to do work on their own house can apply for a permit without hiring a licensed contractor. That's the only stipulation, is if they're doing it on their own house. A commercial project, if a commercial, like they own the building and they want to do work on that building, we do not allow the building owner to do work. They do have to hire a licensed contractor for any commercial project, even if they own that building and are doing the work or want to do the work themselves. We do require that. So there is a stipulation in the code that allows a homeowner to do work themselves
At their place?
At their place only. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we still go out and inspect to make sure it's to code, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can get the permit, but it's still, you'll come and
People
still do that?
still come out,
Yes.
yep,
Okay.
yeah. Because that home is still in this jurisdiction.
Yeah.
That homeowner may not be, so we still need to make sure that structure is up to code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councilwoman Swanson.
Has there been a change in FTE over the last couple of years in your department? Sounds like the story that's coming together here is that there's been an increase in inspection demand, and there's, with multifamily housing, you said. How does that interact with your FTE count and the Chubbuck business tapering off?
Yeah, we haven't changed our FTE for as long as I've been in the department. I've been in the department for 5 years. As far as I know, it's been the same for quite a long time. We've had the same amount of people. It's something that we have looked into and we really like to increase it as the number of inspections increase. But we also understand that over time, I mean, as we reach capacity for Pocatello, it's going to go back down. So it's one of those things we have to kind of consider and think about. Our staff is pretty busy, impactful with inspections over the last few years. Even with the decrease in Chubbuck, because we have so many more commercial projects, our guys are out there, I mean, like I said, more than double inspections for these big commercial jobs. So it's kind of a hard balance, but I feel like we, you know, do a pretty decent job with what we have.
Yeah, we do have contractual services with the county, so we don't get far behind. And that may happen when my lone building inspector goes on vacation and I'm out in the field. Because then I won't be able to get to some of my duties. So we've gone to the county and got some contractual services, and we've increased that budget a little bit.
Mark, how often are we using the county still? Are we still leaning on them quite a bit? I know before we had you know, do we lean on the county much lately for their commercial inspections?
We will in July. Tyler Dillard, my main building inspector, is going to be away for
But right now, Tyler's mainly handling the commercial inspections.
Commercial and residential, yeah. I go out there and help them as well, just so we can stay on top of it. Because it's Tyler and myself who do all the inspections, and we also do all the plan reviews as well. So it's quite busy. But so when Tyler's, I think he's earned some time off for July. He'll be out for about 10 days. That's when I think we'll utilize some of the county.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Councilman Nichols.
So this employee count here, do you see that holding for some time or look a little bit into the future?
Well, if I can, a wish list would be hired up plan reviewer. But right now, we'll just be holding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes.
I'm wondering what's employee and maybe developer satisfaction level with the E-Track-It system? Do we get many complaints about it? Does staff have any complaints about how it works?
Yeah, we do get complaints about it.
Okay.
Most of our contractors, a lot of our trade contractors, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, they were using the system with the state, and so they were actually anticipating it and looking forward to it. So a lot of our contractors are very happy with it. We do get some complaints because there's a lot of contractors who, they like to do the permitting themselves, but they're not computer savvy, and they don't like the transition of having to go on the computer. They still prefer paper applications, printing paper plans. I've had a lot of people say we need to go back to that old way. It's way better, but no, it isn't. Our staff really, truly have appreciated it. I haven't heard a lot of complaints from staff. Some of the staff members that are used to paper, used to the paper plans, I've heard some people prefer that, and they're not as computer savvy, so they prefer to do it the traditional way. But overall, I would say we don't get that many complaints, but obviously we do get several for people that don't like the electronic system.
Yeah, we have a portal that they can come in and use, and the permit techs assist them through, especially some of the folks who've been doing certain things for decades. We help them through it. We help them through the process because it really cleans up everything. It frees up the permit techs for doing a lot of other things as well.
Yes, we do have a separate, we have a separate computer in our office that contractors can come in and use, and we can walk them through it and help them. So we do offer that service, which has been pretty beneficial, so.
Yeah, Councilman Nichols.
So if an old school contractor walks in with a set of paper plans, what do you do?
We tell them to get them scanned and upload them into our E-Track-It portal. If they're simple plans and they're not the big roll plans, then we are happy to scan them for them, and a lot of people will actually do the permits for them. If they come into our office, we're happy to just go ahead and put it in the system. We'll scan the paper plans, upload them for them. So we are very happy to do that for people. We will do it for several people over the phone. We still try and keep all the plans electronic because all of the departments, any permits that departments have to review, it's an easy access for everybody to be able to access those plans without passing them around like the old days through the department. So yes, so we're happy to help them and make sure everybody gets their permits.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner, a lot more efficient. Like I said, it frees up the permit techs a lot. There's a few folks who prefer the old ways, and we assist them through it.
Great, thank you.
Well, I just bring it up because I know that OpenGov, there is a permitting piece that we could, and we're moving away from Central Square, which E-Track-It's a Central Square product. And so I'd be interested to know kind of what, if there's a user friendliness difference between the two and also a cost difference. But I wanted to find out first, do we get many complaints about the system we're currently using? And maybe sounds like it's complaints that would exist no matter what system we have, so, okay.
Was it the project docs before the e-tracking replaced?
Yeah.
I heard a lot of complaints about project docs and
Yes.
used it, and it wasn't very friendly.
It was very not user-friendly. E-Track-It is much more user-friendly. And the nice thing with eTrack-It is everything's done in real time. So as soon as our inspections are rendered, the contractor has access to those results. As soon as a review is done, they have access to those results. And project docs, they had to wait until everyone was done before
fully
they.
done, yeah.
Yeah, and you've used it, so you're familiar with it. It was not very user-friendly. So eTrack-It is better. We like it a lot better.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe this is a question for Rich or staff. When I see the revenue expense line here in the green, so it's like 125. That,
Yep.
that of course lights up the budget planners, right? So in other budgets are a negative number there. So when there's a positive number here, does that all those positive and negative numbers all roll up to the general fund? And
Yes.
that is correct. And then we use that to come to what we hope is to zero out the general. Okay.
So in this particular case, the building department is covering their expenses and contributing to the other expenses of the general fund, yes.
Okay, so this 125 would offset maybe a negative 125 somewhere else. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
I'm sorry, I have one more. With going back to the county inspections, are we still making any revenue off? Is it covering our cost of the paperwork piece? What is it costing us to use the county, I guess?
So while we were kind of in limbo and didn't have a building official, they did, it is a little bit of an expense. I think they did.
It's 80% of what
It's
we
75.
charge, 75% they get, and we get the 25%.
Yeah, so it was I think they did 15 inspections for us, and it was a little over $1,000. So it is expensive. We don't like to use them, but we feel like we need to compensate them for their time to come help us out, so.
But from what I'm hearing, it's really winding down, though. We may use them for vacation time, but it sounds
Yeah.
like we're winding down with them.
Yeah, and we actually haven't used them since we were kind of in between building officials. And I don't know that I don't know if I need to speak for Mark, but I feel like once he gets more familiar with Pocatello and once he gets familiar with our codes and standards, inspections, I feel like we're probably not going to need to lean on them at all. There are going to be times where if our inspector's gone and we get slammed, we don't want to be behind. We don't want to fall behind with inspections. We want to keep development going forward. So we'll probably just have to judge that on a case-by-case basis and see kind of where we're at. Right now, we're doing good with 2 inspectors. But we foresee it possibly being a challenge. Tyler is going to be gone, I think, between 10 and 15 days, somewhere around there. So it's going to be, we don't want to get behind. And so that's hopefully the only time we're going to need to utilize them.
Yeah, we want to have customer service. I've been in the construction game most of my life, and projects need momentum. And so we don't want to be the obstacle to slow down these projects, for sure.
In short order, though, Mark, won't you be the backup when Tyler goes on vacation?
Yes.
So the way I understand, we're working toward not using the county at all.
Yep, but
if you-
there may be summer is the busy time
Yeah.
for inspections, and he'll be gone in July for quite a few days. And so we may have to use him for sure in July. Otherwise, I'll just be swamped out there, and some other duties may not get to, so.
I'm just thinking, if it's covering our costs, I understand the county has to, they're doing the work, so they got to take money, but, and I agree with you that I think the customer service aspect is the number one most important thing. We want inspections done timely so development keeps moving. But if the workload starts increasing, I don't really see a problem with using the county to help offset the workload versus adding another FTE.
Right,
So,
as HR can tell you, an FTE with, salary and benefits is quite expensive. compared to the,
so-
Good
county.
point.
I'm glad.
Really fill in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to do the inspections with our own staff as much as possible and retain that income from it, but yeah, I'm glad that we have that as an option, especially when the workload gets maybe beyond our staffing, so.
Okay,
One
sure.
more general question. So is it fair to say that your work as a department is seasonal and fluctuates year to year as well? So if you have a lot of inspections happening in the summer, so you've got more work then, and then depending on the kind of construction that's happening, you may have more or less work in the city in general in any given year. Is that correct?
Right. Well, the economy plays a big part in it too. The developers are very in tune to, what the customers want. And I've, and a little bit of research I did on single-family homes, it's really kind of dropped off.
Yeah.
And a lot of them aren't building to customers, or just building as specs.
Yeah.
Houses in hopes of selling them, but the multifamily has really taken off and keeps us very busy.
Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, agenda item 7, Information Technology IT Department. Aaron Lyon is here to provide a presentation.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Aaron Lyon. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the Information Technology Department. Just like to start out with the mission statement. The Information Technology Department delivers reliable technology solutions, services, security, and customer support that empower city departments and the public. Our mission is focused on ensuring city departments and the public are provided with the systems, information, and support needed for daily operations and long-term success. Our department is made up of a great team of 7 employees, including myself. Right now, we have a vacant position, the network cybersecurity engineer. We have a computer technician, we have a senior programmer analyst, a systems programmer analyst, a webmaster, and an audio-visual technician. According to the latest Gartner poll, our IT department operates on 1/3 of the personnel other cities our size work on. We work very well together. We are working on continually cross-training with our positions in the department, so we can help each other out when the need arises. The IT department does a tremendous job of taking care of all the technological needs of the city and all the departments that we have. We have a very complex system here in the city. We manage and support 25 networks throughout the city. That consists of 40+ servers, 812 computers, laptops, and tablets. And we have 342 VoIP phones that we manage also. We replace and upgrade 80+ computers a year and receive over 300,000 website visits per year and over 1 million website page views. And we also stream, record, and broadcast 68+ hours of video a year. And we also have our audio and visual technician is a licensed drone pilot that records numerous hours of drone footage for the city that helps out departments. We maintain 28 different on-premise cloud software platforms. So, and with that, we strive to on every call that we get, we strive to respond to that call, those calls in 2 hours, and most of the time we can achieve that in under an hour. So we stay very busy as a department, but we run very efficiently. Kind of the impact on the citizens, the majority of the work that we do in the IT department is done behind the scenes, and it goes unnoticed by the citizens. Many city departments rely on IT departments, maintenance of the city's network servers, computers, websites, and phones, and wireless systems and other critical technologies to efficiently serve and engage with residents. The city is committed to safeguarding the personally identifiable information of all of our employees, citizens, etc., all while making city information transparent as possible to the public. Our funds come from interfund departments, and from those, 47.5% come from tax-based funded departments. Our funds match our expenditures on a 1-to-1 scale. Salaries and benefits take 43.7% of our budget, and the rest is operations and maintenance. We have cut down our we have cut down on our expenditures as much as we can to come in with a flat budget this year. We've done that by, with this year, my predecessor retired, and so there's some salary savings there, and we did discontinue a service. And with that being said, at the minimum, within the ID department, our maintenance cost is the big driving force for our expenses, and on an average, maintenance costs go up at least 5% a year, and so it's hard to come in with a flat budget when these expenses are out of our control. And then also this year we are seeing a rise in hardware costs for our computer replacements. Just with RAM and hard drives, we've seen a 30% increase, and that's been largely due to the for the need of those components for the AI data centers that they are building throughout the country. And when we bring on systems, the maintenance cost gets pushed to the IT department, so we have to increase our interfund transfer rates between departments, which unfortunately makes the interfund charges go up between those departments. But our team, does a great job in maintaining the city's network and computers, and we'll continue to provide the best support and security that we can for the city. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, yeah, Councilman Nichols.
So does your department provide IT services to the entire city, or are there any sort of standalone type of situations?
No, we provide the service for all city departments.
Including the police department?
Yes, police department, all 5 fire departments, the public works, street sanitation, WPC, the airport, Pocatello Transit, animal shelter, zoo, yeah, all of them.
So let's say the police department gets a new software. You install that and make sure it all works?
Yeah. We want to make sure that all software and hardware purchases go through the IT department, just so we know that it is compatible with our systems and that the security measures are in place.
Great, thank you.
Councilwoman Swanson.
Yeah, thanks. Would you give me a couple of examples of operations and maintenance, and maybe a follow-on question to that? Does your budget pay for all the actual equipment? Like, did my laptop come out of your budget?
Yes, that laptop did come out of, all the laptops for the council did come out of the IT budget. We do budget for a certain amount of computers a year through the IT budget, and then if departments want more computers throughout the year, then they pay for those computers.
Okay. Is there another example of an operations and maintenance expense besides buying computers or hardware?
Well, a lot of it was with our is with our software platforms that we have with like Navaline. We have to pay for the maintenance, the yearly maintenance for that software platform, and that's where the majority of our maintenance goes to, is with the Navaline.
What is Navaline?
That's our ERP for the finance, utility billing, and like Lucity and everything that's under Central Square is what we pay for there.
Okay, and then if I may, one more question about the cybersecurity position that's open.
Yes.
Seems a little concerning since cybersecurity is so important. What's your take on why we haven't been able to fill that, or are you optimistic or about that being filled? What's your take on that?
Yes, I got promoted to be the Chief Information Officer just a month ago, and I held the network cybersecurity engineer position prior to that. And so the time that I've been in this position, I've been in the process of receiving applications and setting up interviews here in 2 weeks to hopefully fill that position.
So we do have some candidates?
Yes.
Okay.
And just when Aaron took over this position, the CIO, we talked a lot about, we've been talking about software and with software purchases from other departments. I think Aaron articulated this real well, that there hasn't been like maybe the best coordination with IT to make sure everything feeds together. So we're not having silos of different software amongst the city. And Aaron, what one of his new focuses is that, coordinating all of that. So, the systems talk to each other, that it goes through you, that just that coordination, I don't think that was at the top notch in the past.
Yeah. We just want to make sure that all purchases are coming through the IT department, just so we know that they're compatible with our current systems, and that the security, because a big part of it is the security measures, that we need to make sure that they are being fulfilled. And then with software, purchasing as purchasing all the licenses under one account, we can get breaks on software licenses.
So I'm optimistic about that increased coordination and what's going on so far.
Yep.
So, yes.
Question on the professional and contracted services. What has the rising cost on that? Do you know what that's for? On the professional contracted services?
A lot of that has to do with licensing costs are continually going up, and then with we're trying to move more towards Microsoft 365 licenses instead of the one-time purchasing of Office licenses. So like we're trying to increase licensing purchasing there.
Okay, thank you.
And do I remember correctly with the Microsoft 365, you don't have to drop and buy the new version. It's like part of Microsoft 365 is you're always getting those next generation
Correct.
updates.
All the updates and security updates are included with that online license.
Mayor?
Yes.
Aaron, I'm wondering, so our webmaster position,
Yes.
it's a full-time position. What is involved in that day-to-day?
And I don't have the exact number of websites that he manages, but there's he keeps the websites updated very well, and then with the wellness program also and other city programs, he creates websites for them, and he works very well with other departments to make sure that all their web content is updated and that the public has the information that they need.
I'm just wondering with the vacant position and the employees that we have, in your opinion, is there any way that we can rewrite positions and fulfill the work with the staffing that we have currently?
With keeping the current FTEs that we have now.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. We are in the process of reevaluating some positions in our department, and we're moving around some job duties and adding some job duties to, one of them is the webmaster position, to increase some duties that position will hold. One is a AI data protection officer, so that will add some responsibilities to that position.
Will that lessen the need then, Aaron, for the network cybersecurity engineer with those job revisions and other positions?
With the network cybersecurity engineer, it really won't, because cybersecurity continues to grow, and so that position will still have the same amount of responsibilities. With the AI, it's continually, growing, and the responsibility for the city is growing, and that's why we were wanting to make that an additional assignment with the webmaster position, because our current webmaster is very knowledgeable in the AI field, and so he would like to take on that responsibility.
And on the audiovisual technician, we've talked about some additional duties there. Can you talk about how that's going?
Yeah, with the city continually growing, just a few years ago we had like 500 computers, laptops, and tablets, and now we're over 800. We're in the process of splitting up the computer technician duties and creating and having the audiovisual position take on a computer technician role also to help out with the growing number of devices that we have on our network.
Yes.
To the topic or the idea of restructuring and adding some new requirements to some of these job descriptions, in your beginning, in the opening, you had mentioned that your department operates at a third the size of other municipalities the same size.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a constraint on you, on your department, because you are so much smaller than other municipalities this size? Or would you say that the FTE you have is efficient to add or mutate or manipulate these job descriptions?
I believe with the proposals that we've been making and the changes that we're looking at making with our current employees, I believe that we can manage that workload. Especially with the number of devices we have, splitting up the computer technician duties will lessen the load on our current computer technician, and that will kind of balance that out. With the cybersecurity network engineer, a lot of other municipalities, they have 2 or 3 employees for that one position, and with the city of Pocatello, that position definitely stays very busy, but I think for the time being, it's still manageable for that position to stay where it's at.
Okay.
I have a question, but actually it's probably for Rich. Hi, Rich. So my question applies to this department, but also probably all departments here. So the budget that we're looking at right now, does it include money for the presently vacant full-time positions?
Yes,
As if they were filled?
yes. And we budget the related expenses at the highest expense that could be. For example, we would budget for that empty position, medical insurance at a family. So if someone were to be hired that was single, there would be a small savings there, but that's how we do that.
Okay, so if we decided to not hire an employee, then the bottom line numbers would go down here, is that right?
Yeah, his salaries
Sorry.
and related, the IT salaries and related expenses would be somewhat less, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Aaron, in your new position, what is your day-to-day? What's involved for you day-to-day?
Well, so far, a lot of it's been the budgeting process and then contacting and being in contact with a lot of our vendors and maintenance, figuring out where how much our maintenance costs are going to be going up the next fiscal year, and then a lot of it is communicating with department heads with the software platforms that they have, and being involved in the meetings that they have with their software platforms, and making sure that they will work with the with what we currently have at the city, or if they're trying to implement new software platforms, that they will work like they want to, and a lot of it is the security measures, make sure that the city is staying secure, and providing providing everything that the city needs. And then just overseeing the department and the employees to make, and just making sure that all the tasks are being met, and goals are being met throughout the city departments.
I imagine this cybersecurity engineer position requires certain certifications and education. Is that right?
Yes, they do.
What do we require for that?
Well, we'd like to have a cybersecurity degree and an information technology degree in networking, because a lot of it is maintaining servers, firewalls, routers, switches, and then just the keeping up on the standards of cybersecurity protocols that are coming out. So we just make sure they have their certificates in the cybersecurity field.
I'm just wondering, how reasonable is it to ask that you already have all the education, you've been doing that position, to have that be your chief or one of your responsibilities, and instead of hiring a cybersecurity engineer, we have like a assistant cybersecurity position or something like that?
That would be ideal, but just with budgeting purposes in the past, that we just haven't been able to find the funds to hire another position to fill those needs.
Yeah, I guess what I'm suggesting is, instead of hiring for a network cybersecurity engineer, we would create a new position at a lower pay grade that'd be an assistant cybersecurity engineer, whatever we call it. But the day-to-day work of a cybersecurity engineer would still fall under you. I'm just asking if that's reasonable with all your other responsibilities.
It would be, but really splitting up the duties, the salaries and the pay grade that they're at would pretty much stay the same for bringing on a cybersecurity and a network engineer. There is basically the same pay grade for both positions. So we'd be basically doubling the salary that for two positions.
Could like an assistant, though, handle that job rather than a full-fledged network
Yeah,
cybersecurity engineer?
we could do that. Yeah.
So an assistant is still going to require somewhat of some kind of training and education and so on. So we're still going to have to compensate that person fairly well, even as an assistant, because of the experience and the education they would have to assist in that regard, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think we have to find ways when there's vacant positions like this to reorganize to bring that personnel cost down everywhere. So that's all I'm looking at is there ways that we can keep the FTE level where we're operating currently with rewrites of positions, or if we're going to add a FTE, adding it at a lower pay scale with a different rewrite of a position. That's
Kind of like what Human Resources did with the
with
assistant.
the generalist
instead
and
of
the
an
assistant.
HR
Yeah.
generalist
Yeah.
concept.
You know, we could definitely look into that and see if there would be some savings there.
Yeah.
I would support that philosophy as well. So any efforts any department could make toward that would be extremely helpful.
I agree. It is a good idea, but we have to do it. It has to be tactful and it has to be in the right departments, because not every department would benefit from that. It would create a stagnation in their department. IT is one of those departments where I don't think you can necessarily skimp, especially looking at there are other cities throughout the state that have gone through cyber attacks. And so I think that it would behoove us to make sure that we are secured cyberly and in the IT department. Now, when we look at the streets department and then we look at parks, how they have those hybrids, that is a perfect use of decreasing that cost and creating savings. And so I agree. I think that it is important. It is fiscally responsible. We have to do it in the correct manner to make sure that we're serving the city's best interest.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just, myself as Aaron's boss or whatever, just kind of like when Jay was contemplating the idea of doing the assistant instead of the generalist, that I think just a detailed discussion amongst us, that fulfilling the needs and at the same time being astute to the budget. I think I get the message, and Councilman Bates's and Swanson's perspective there. I think, part of that is we need to have a discussion to make sure we're not dropping any important cybersecurity duties that we have and looking at the budget at the same time. I think that message is received, and we'll look into that more.
Okay.
So, good feedback. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Rich. And if we could take another quick 5-minute break. It is about 11:15, so if we can reconvene at 11:20.
Right on.
Mics go back on. Okay, we're moving into agenda item 8, and actually these last 3 agenda items are all the Rich Morgan show. So let's start off with Finance Department presentation. Welcome again, Rich.
That's a little pressure. I am very excited that you're looking at you have new ideas, like you mentioned, a City Hall bar, new revenue stream, and I might be the bartender. We could switch out those duties, and
I'm
kind of excited for
We
that.
might get more people in for these meetings.
Right?
After a few more of these sessions, I might be the customer.
I just wanted to point out too, I don't know if it has been, and so if I am repeating something that you already know, I apologize, but so this particular screen is exactly what our citizens see when they come to OpenGov. And then they'll see that. And I wish it was all in one shot. I have to scroll to show you, but then they'll see this and they'll be able to go into that story. So we're really excited about that. You're seeing what they will see, and they'll be able to get those numbers and do what they do with them. All right, let's start with finance. The mission statement, the City of Pocatello Finance Department ensures that every public dollar is managed with integrity, transparency, and purpose. We connect community priorities to responsible financial planning, supporting essential services today while preparing for the future. I've actually I've used the vehicle analysis before, when it comes to finance, accounting, and treasury. I came up with a new one. It might be a little controversial. It has to do with the military. But so when you're thinking about a campaign, that's finance. You plan the campaign. When you're reporting what happened in the campaign, in a military campaign, that's accounting. They're reporting what happened. And treasury is the one that makes sure they have the right stuff to carry out the campaign. Does that make sense? All right, all right. Maybe we'll stick with the auto one. I like it better. So here's the organization that we have in finance. I wonder why that won't go away today. Again, we have finance. Chantel Macy is heading up that portion. Her title as budget manager, she does the planning. She does the projections. We have accounting. That just changed. We'll be making some new additions there. We can talk about that when we get to headcount as well. But that's the dashboard. That's the reporting portion, and probably the biggest and well-known portion of our department. And then we have treasury, which is what most people might be most familiar with because it's like their checkbook. And that's how you can think about those different responsibilities that we have. What do? The City of Pocatello Finance Department manages the city financial operations to ensure accuracy, transparency, and accountability. Core services include budgeting, accounting, treasury functions, payroll, accounts payable and receivable, and financial system support. So for example, today, when I came in this morning, the very first thing I did, and it happens every Monday morning, is, and we talked about this a little bit, is I checked the bank balance and made sure that for the week, because we have a payroll week coming and an AP week coming, that because you guys are going to spend a lot of money, that we have enough to make sure we pay those bills. Why does it matter? Every financial decision impacts the services provided to our community. By maintaining strong financial practices, clear reporting, the finance department helps support public safety, infrastructure, and long-term planning, ensuring responsible stewardship of those funds. What do we have as goals? We want to deliver transparent government, and we've taken a big step towards that with this OpenGov. We want to drive efficiency through innovation. We've talked a lot about those things, and I do have a couple of things I'll share with you at the end of this presentation that we might be able to do in finance to help with that. Strengthen fiscal accountability. We're always striving to make sure that those dollars are used properly. I've said that several times already. Plan for a sustainable future. That's really important. And as we look at the plans that we're making, it's really important that we safeguard the future in that we have reserves for the things that are coming we don't know about. I would really appreciate as we go through this budget process that you keep that in mind. It is a resource to meet your goals, but it also is something that we need to protect. And if we do use it, to have a plan on how to replace it. All right. We've seen these charts and graphs. Mine is very similar. I have a few numbers written down here that I'll share with you. Total revenues are $1.2 million. Most of that comes from the support we extract from other departments because we are not a revenue center. We don't generate revenue. And so those departments that do generate revenue end up in the long run paying for what we do. Our expenses are 1.5. Those expenses are $46,000 in the total, less than last year's expenses. But I wanted to point out, and this is what's happening in all the departments, some expenses have gone up. Obviously, you know that with wages and wage-related expenses. So our wage and wage-related expenses went up $57K. So our overall O&M went down 104. That's the thing that is happening that makes department heads think, oh, can I really do that? it makes them think, maybe I can't, because they have to make up that difference when we want the budget on the bottom line to either be flat or even less. Just Friday. So the number's not reflected here, but my FTE, oh, it was changed. I forgot about that. This was 9. It is now 8. I don't know if you've heard, but our controller resigned Friday. And so we will be looking at how we can do that. And I have wondered, along the lines of the discussion that's happened today, if that is something that we could contract for. And would that be a better way for the city to manage that particular function? Councilmember Swanson.
I just noticed that the treasurer isn't on the FTE positions. Is that, but the accountant is the, did I
So
misread that?
do you see, let's see, let me go back up.
Treasury accountant is open?
Yeah, it is, and I thought there would be 2.
Scroll down, Rich, to the vacant.
Right.
That's not what we see.
Yeah, we see something a little different.
Do we?
So interesting, so let's back up to when I started. When I started, we had an administrative assistant.
Okay.
Just do have the newer version there.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is accurate on the screen, correct?
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
So the
Okay.
accountant is the treasury accountant and the controller is the position
That
that
is
just
correct.
vacated. Okay.
And what happened there is we had an assistant, and she was doing a great job. It had nothing to do with the person or the position. But when she found a better opportunity, I had some discussions with Mayor Dahlquist, and we decided that the opportunity presented there would be better to have an accountant than an administrative assistant in the department. We have not filled that position, and then this position that I'm talking about now just happened Friday.
Right.
So I'm still kind of wrapping my head around that and deciding what to do there. All right.
Yeah, there's another question
Would
here.
you, oh, sorry, yeah. Would you explain what a controller does?
They're the accountant.
Oh, okay, so you have an accountant and
Right.
control up there. Okay.
So under the controller, they take care of payroll, AP, accounts receivable, any like general journal, general ledger type activities.
Okay.
That's what the
There-
controller
A
would
lot
do.
of audit coordination, preparing the financials for the audit, right?
So if we go back to, and maybe that wasn't totally clear, if I go back to up here, you can see that finance, that works alone, treasury is working alone, but the accounting, they have a lot of help right down here because of all those things that they're processing, tracking, reporting.
So, Rich, are you suggesting we look at outsourcing all of those positions?
No, I wondered about outsourcing this position. In that, what they would do, what they usually do is combine everything, put that together in a package called a financial statement and report that. That's something that we could maybe outsource. It's a big lift. It's a heavy lift. It takes usually about 5 months to get done internally.
So can someone like Deaton and Company do that and still audit us, or would it have to be a separate company?
It would have to be separate.
Okay.
That is correct. In fact, I've had, in my previous life, I had those conversations, and I actually did ask our auditor, would you rather be our accountant or our auditor? And at that point, they wanted to be the auditor. So we went with a different firm to be the accountant.
Mr. Mayor? So when you're talking about outsourcing the accounting position perhaps, would that include then all of the sub items?
No.
Okay.
That does not include that.
Great, thank you.
We've got to have those in-house to process.
So we would have a contractor supervising these payroll, counting these other employees?
No, we would contract the financial statement preparation.
Okay, great, thank you.
So all of those positions in the yellow there that are under the controller currently would shift to, I would imagine, either the treasurer or to the treasury department or to yourself.
Me.
So in that, would it be cost-wise, is it more cost-effective to have a controller than to outsource that?
I don't
Because-
know, Corey. I'm sorry.
Am-
Councilmember Mangum, sometimes the cowboy comes out in me.
I was
I'm
Corey.
sorry.
I was Corey before I was councilman, so I take no offense.
I'm trying to be proper. No, I don't know. I haven't had time to look at it yet.
In my estimation, I think it would cost more to contract that out than to have someone in that position.
It might well be, but what I usually tell my staff, my family, my kids, what I would tell you is we need to do the math.
Absolutely.
We need to find out
Absolutely.
instead of just, right? So I need to call and find out how much it would be.
So in functionality, do you think that the department would suffer shifting those under you to manage those things directly as the controller would or has in the past?
That's a really good conversation we need to have. And I probably need to have these conversations with the mayor as my supervisor to really flesh out what that would mean or how we would handle it.
Well, and because I'm looking at this executive assistant thing too, right?
Yeah.
That was a functional position. That was a really good person to have in your staff to help out. And so if having that as such a important and vital position, how does it work having, now we're going to add these other people, but we're taking away, or you don't have that assistant piece. So if you need an assistant in this structure, how much more would you need an assistant if we shift these people under you?
Most of these positions that you're talking about, they're pretty most of these right here, they pretty much
Self-administered.
take care of themselves,
Okay.
right? They might have a question or two, but they're, yeah, they're pretty self-manageable.
Okay.
So
I didn't see the executive assistant on the open FTE list
it is
either.
not. This was an older, and I apologize, we had it in there. This is not budgeted for.
Huh.
This is not in the budget.
It would be nice if we had it.
This was a plan that I should have updated for my presentation. I apologize. We should have taken that out.
But we don't, an executive assistant really isn't on the table.
Nope. Nope.
Isn't that the one, Rich, though, you wanted to make an accountant position?
That's this position, treasury. Yep,
I see.
that's the green box.
I'm guessing it looks like that because that's how it looked prior. Right? We had an assistant before and
Exactly.
you just didn't remove it.
Yep. Yeah, she left, what, January or February?
Yeah, February last year.
But you didn't have that treasury box, though.
I did not. I had added that.
So that one's new, the other one's old on the exec assistant.
That is correct.
They're swapped.
Rich, what is the salary difference from the executive assistant to the treasury?
I would say that it is approximately 25, 30 grand. That's wages only,
Yeah.
not and related.
Okay. Now, sorry, the treasury person and that accounting person, could those be combined in role functionality?
No, there's some internal controls there, and we need to keep them separate.
Okay. I assumed, but
Yeah, we don't want the person who's processing AP or over AP or in charge of AP or AR also in charge of the bank balance and the bank statement. we've got to keep those separate. All right, are we ready to move on?
Move on to
These
capital
next two should be
contingency.
pretty quick.
Same situation, this lady embezzled.
I was just wanting to give you an idea of how dynamic this whole system is for everybody, right? And the decisions they get to make. So non-departmental revenues versus expenditures. This is a real oddity, but what we do out of this account is the city match for transit. We cannot account for that city match in 08 or 09, which are the transit funds. We also do the community donations out of this fund. Those organizations that were in front of you asking for support would be budgeted and paid for here. I would like to mention that right now they are budgeted at the same level as last year. Their ask was higher than that. I believe the same level as 135,000. And when we added them up for a total of their ask, it was 199. So pretty significant increases in ask, but I wanted you guys to know that for sure. And then things like the copy room. We have a copy room here in this building. Everybody can go into the copy room, make copy rooms. They do their mail there. We have supplies in the back. So things like that are taken care out of this non-departmental revenue and expense line items.
Sorry, Rich, I know you said this, but those anticipated community donations, which category were they again?
I'm sorry, let me get back down here. Did we put them in professional and contractual? So they're part of this number right here, this
Okay.
334.
So what was their,
216,
what was their specific total that you had?
135 is what we
135.
budgeted.
Okay,
But the ask was higher.
135,000,
But the
and
ask
that
was higher.
matches what they asked or are getting this year.
I need a little clarification about what we're talking about here. So the 135,000 is the amount that transit requested?
No.
No.
It's three separate things that I used as examples that run through this department.
So this is.
So to run transit, your fund 08 and 09, we have to have a match. And that was about $600,000.
Okay, so we have to have, the city pays the match to
That's
the,
right.
to PRT.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. We have to include that in their budget to receive the federal funds
I gotcha.
to
Okay.
run the program.
So it's grant match for federal programming.
That is correct.
Okay, and so is that the proposed budget 600,000 there? Or is this is
Right, the 650.
650?
Oh,
That's
no.
650.
Is that the line item we
Intergovernmental?
transferred out of? Yeah, the 650 comes out of this line item right here. Intergovernmental transfers.
Okay,
That's right.
intergovernmental transfers, I gotcha, okay. All right, so that's one of the things that comes out of that. This is, tell me the name of this fund again, capital contingency? No,
Non-departmental.
Non-departmental, sorry. My computer just jumped, 1 second. Okay, so. Non-departmental, okay, gotcha. So federal grant match for transportation comes out of here. What else comes out of here?
The requests that have been made of the council for donations to the programs like Meals on Wheels.
Okay, gotcha.
Like the neighborhood housing. I can't remember the list. It's not in front of me, but all
I know what you
those.
mean. Yep.
And that's what I was wanting the council to realize, that we have budgeted the 27 donation at the same amount as the 26.
Okay. For all of those external requests?
All of those.
Okay, and that comes out of the non-departmental?
Yes.
And then, is anything else come out of here?
There are some small things, like we have a copy room.
The break room,
In the
okay,
back,
got it.
yeah, things like that. Yep.
All right.
Anything that you could think of that all the departments enjoy but don't want to pay for. So,
Okay. Why is the bus or is the Pocatello Regional Transit Service specifically included in this fund when we've got other federal match amounts that we have to make all over the place, I
it's a
assume?
good question, and right now, it's probably because that's how it's been being done. And I would really like to isolate it and keep it separate. So it might be different next year. We might isolate that and keep it separate in a different fund.
If we're doing a federal match on something, say in Public Works, where would that match show up in the budget?
So if Public Works is going after a grant,
Yeah,
they would have the match in their budget.
in their budget. So this is unusual in that Regional Transit doesn't include the match, doesn't hold the match in their own budget.
That's right, and it's because it's a requirement in this particular instance of the federal government that we
I see.
cannot account for it
I gotcha.
in the same fund, 008 or 009.
Yeah.
Got it.
They won't allow us to.
Okay.
So
So it's a little bit, it's a workaround because of the federal requirements.
that is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Rich, can you say one more time what the total nonprofit ask was?
Wasn't it 199? 199,
And we budgeted 135.
that is correct. If you want the breakdowns of that, we
That's
can get it for you. All right,
Want to move on to non-departmental now?
Fund 78, right?
Right.
No, I just did non-departmental. We're good? Fund 78. That is zeros. If you remember, we had a discussion about how to budget for funds or reserves or fund balance. Fund 78 is general fund reserves, but they have been earmarked in a specific way for a department. It could be many reasons why. One example would be someone said, look, I've got salary savings. Can we earmark that for my department? I want to use it this way. So there's three ways to do that, right? You could budget the entire fund balance. And that would mean that we would never have to open the budget, which is really nice. But it also means that you just gave your department heads the permission and the ability and the authority to spend that money, which is legal. We could, and I do think if you know something's coming and if you're aware of it and you have the right number, you should include it in your budget. You should do that, because then we wouldn't have to open the budget for it. But also, and this is where we talked about it, is anytime those reserves or fund balances are used, you guys would like to review that. So we zeroed this out. That doesn't mean there's no money there. All the money is there, but if someone wants to spend it, they've got to come to council and ask.
Thank you.
Can you explain again where how money comes into Fund 78?
Sure. So I'll back up just a little bit, and if I'm beating a dead horse, let me know. But so come September 30th, in the general fund, well, legally, we're going to have some sort of difference between our revenues and expenses. We won't have spent it all. Let's just say it's 100,000 for the example's sake. That 100,000 is going to drop to what we call fund balance and become reserve. Same thing, right? We don't lose that money. It's something we didn't spend. If for some reason an authority, the mayor or the council, says, okay, of that 100,000, we want 50,000 put aside for a particular purpose, it has been in the past transferred to a line item that's designated for that particular purpose. Usually it's just a department name, but we know what it's for. And that's what those that's how that works.
And that all steps into Fund 78. And then council is the only body that can release funds from Fund 78?
In one way or other, yes, that is correct. You are the spending authority of the city. That is correct. But there are different ways for you to do that, and that's what we were talking about earlier.
So if I'm looking at this right, then the FY '26, right now, it's predicted that there will be $28,000 in Fund 78, is that right?
The balance right now, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're looking at, but I
At the
did
very
bring.
bottom line there, just where it says revenue expenses.
That's 26.
Oh, sorry, 26, I got you.
budget.
But,
Yeah.
okay,
So, and right now, the total of Fund 78 is 1.7.
okay. And so theoretically, council could use that money to fund something on the wish list or fund a special project that doesn't otherwise have or may not be funded entirely?
Really good question. And yes, the short answer is yes. Do you want me to add to that?
Yes.
If you do that, you'll have a lot of department heads with a lot of heartburn because they have either saved or ideas or have planned on the money that has been allocated to their department in that fund. And so I think that would be
Unpopular?
disingenuous
For sure.
of,
I understand.
oh, sure.
So
Right?
what- so what-
Previous councils have said, we're going to let you track that and use it. And,
Okay.
and you have the ability to do that. But that would be a change in what we have been doing and what we have been allowing.
Okay, so if say the police have 100,000 in Fund 78, and
Okay.
there's a note that's savings from a police budget, and in this budget cycle, could the police say, we're going to buy new uniforms with the $100,000 that's currently in Fund 78? Yes.
You bet.
Does that typically happen, where people in a budget cycle or departments in a budget cycle will do that?
You bet. And you would have to approve it. You would
Okay.
have to say, yes, that's okay. Yep.
But there is sort of a gentlewoman's agreement that the money, or a tradition of the money that's been saved by a particular department is then used by a particular department. It's not co-opted by the council to spend on something else.
Correct.
Okay.
And the one I'm thinking of, if I'm correct in this, that in the mayor council budget, there were quite a few years where some Fund 78 were taken to save up for a vehicle replacement. So that would be one of the ones where the unpopular would be that, well, I know you've been setting money several years in your Fund 78 for your vehicle, but we're gonna use it for something else now. But that's an example in my department, if I got that right, that went in to the Fund 78 that was extra revenue, I guess, or from the prior years. Is the example I can think of in my department, if I said that correctly.
I think the biggest downside is I try, and I would hope that the city would encourage a frugal management of finances. And if you do something like that, if you encourage that and they save it and then you don't let them use it, there will become a point in time where it's a use it or lose it
Right.
mentality. And I don't think that's good.
But let me ask this, though. Is there an appropriate or industry standard about what percentage of your working budget you really ought to have in those reserves? Because it seems to me like you could get to the point where we've got $1 million in reserves and we're just sitting on it, and it seems like that's maybe not prudent.
Really good question, and one of the things that we did and came up today, so I'll just use it as an example, but yes, we use 3 months. Some people say 90 days, some people say 3 months, same thing.
3 months of
Of
operating?
operating
Okay.
budget as the target to have in your fund balance as operating. Now, if you go over that, that's capital. And you probably should be saving for some capital expenses as well. But so if you remember right with, and I'm trying not to get out of my lane, so I'll put on my CFO hat on again. If you remember with the human resource, they had two funds that they showed you that were funded out of fund balance. That's because when we looked at them, the first one, the fund balance was $303,000, and their annual expenses were $50,000, and we're like, that's probably a little high. Let's use this opportunity to draw down those funds.
Okay.
Because maybe we have collected or saved too much there. Also in the education, it was their fund balance is 258, I believe. And so we've done that. And that is right. If your fund balance is too big, you're probably collecting too much. Now you need to be careful. We have some big projects, right? So it depends on the fund you're talking about. It depends on those kinds of things as well.
But it's an appropriate question to ask a department head if you've got $1 million in reserves. What are you gonna? How are you gonna spend this? What is this for?
Completely.
And when are you gonna do it?
Completely appropriate for you to be asking that. Yes.
Okay.
And to know what the plan is. You bet.
Okay.
So now some of those reserves, there's a department that was planning on doing something goes awry, they're unable to do that. So those funds now, if they roll over to the next year, it goes into that reserve. And so we're always planning on that next thing coming up,
You bet.
right?
And remember, we do have a general fund reserve as well. That's not allocated that way. And those are the funds when you guys are having the discussions with department heads about whether to fund a plan, whether to fund, like the compensation study, right? How are we going to fund that? It's not built into the budget. When Connie brings up the need for a laser fish or something like that, how are you going to fund it? It wasn't built into this budget. Those are the kinds of things we could use that general fund balance for as well.
But we
And
could
you'll
all-
have to prioritize those uses.
So, Rich, the 1.7 that's currently in Fund 78, in the proposed 27 budget, where did all those funds go?
They're not included.
Not included.
They are not included. The funds are there, and if someone wants to use them, they'll have to be in front of you asking, and we'll have to open the budget to use them.
But we had previously said, I think when we talked about this the first time, council had kind of said, we felt like what was already allocated to departments.
We can change that if you want to. Maybe that was a miscommunication on my part. We could change and include each one of those Fund 78 balances in their revenue. We could do that.
I mean, to me, that makes the most sense, because I think we all felt it was inappropriate to say just what we've been talking about. You've been saving, previous council said, yes, you can use these funds for this specific purpose. I feel like that should be accounted for some way in the budget.
If we're going to allow them in the budget, you're wanting to know the specific purpose they're going to use them for. Is that what you just?
Correct, yeah, like
Instead of just allowing them.
it should be a line item under their
Okay,
department budget. That would be my thinking,
I
but
can do that.
I
I think
I've-
there's, right now, there are 7 departments that would benefit from that. They have balances.
yeah, I was thinking more that this was going forward, Fund 78 would no longer be used as this kind of savings fund for different projects, that if you wanted to take savings from your department for a specific project, that needed to come up during the budget process and stay within your department so that it was clear what those funds were for and where they're going.
So you're saying that once the funds in 78 are exhausted, we will run our requests through the general fund and no longer have Fund 78?
That was my understanding. Maybe
Okay.
council feels differently, but
I think that's a discussion the council needs to have.
So my question then is, if say, police, for example, they were saving money to retrofit the locker rooms. Where does that money go? If they don't have it in this current year and they're saving for it, where does that money go in their savings? And that's why 78 was or is what it is. And so I think keeping 78 is important. But the way that it's expended, I think that we might look at that adjusting there, but, and then there's other departments too that have been planning for things, like Parks and Rec has been planning for things, and they take money, put it into 78 until the adequate time to use it, or fund matches and things of that
Which
nature.
may not be the following year.
Which
because
might
they're
not
saved
be,
For multiple
right.
years.
And there are projects that have been saved for multiple years to where they can get that money. Or like the fire department, when they got their new brush truck, money went there until the match came for multiple years. Their deployments, that money comes in, some of that goes into 78 until they get the allowance to spend it. And so 78, I think, is a vital account for us to hold on to.
Yes.
So Rich, what's your suggestion? What would you like to see?
That's a big question. And I hate to answer questions like that because you guys are the ones that should set policy, but
It seems like maybe there's a yes and situation where we keep Fund 78, but as a holding tank for those excess funds that people are saving up for. But I agree that we should have some visibility into what that is and that they intend to spend, I mean, $100,000, like Parks and Rec intends to spend $100,000 this year on playground equipment from Fund 78, their reserve funds. But if that doesn't appear on our on the department budget, then I think we're missing a piece of managing those funds. And we also want to know as a council that that's coming our way and what it is and why it is, so we can approve it.
so that would be the middle option, rather than budgeting the entire amount or budgeting nothing. We would budget what they request as a specific request. And I think that probably has happened, actually. If they have a request or they're wanting to use that money, I do think they put it in their budget.
It's been happening more often like that. And I know in past budgets, we've had departments come and say, I want to save specifically for X, Y, and Z, and then we budget it that way specifically. So I think that what you're talking about makes sense.
And it's fine to put it into Fund 78. You can account for it the other way as well. You can account for those things in the general fund balance.
Yeah.
So could you just do a simple list that would have, here's the balance in Fund 78 and here's how it's tentatively committed?
I know, I can tell you the balance is 1.7 and I don't think there are any commitments right now for it. Are there? For Fund 78? Right, but the departments haven't told us any specific item they're spending it on.
Chantel Finance, let me, this, again, just as what I'm seeing historically, there used to not be a Fund 78, and they did everything in general fund, but then when departments did save, nobody knew the balance. So looking at historical and what happened is they selected a point in time, started Fund 78, so that when departments did save for the future, we could tell exactly what it was instead of a separate spreadsheet, which depending on who managed the spreadsheet could be different. So no departments haven't specifically said, hey, we have XYZ project, but they do have a 5-year plan in mind. And most of these funds, they have to come to you and we do a budget amendment. So they're not allowed to spend out of 78 unless we do a budget amendment. So either way, it all comes back to you for that permission, and we do have that allocated between, there is an unallocated in Fund 78 and there is an allocated. Unallocated means there's a small balance that any department can come to you to ask for, and then you have allocated where the departments very specifically had asked the mayor to set aside this particular amount for a project that they know they're going to have in the future.
Right, so how much of that fund is presently unallocated?
Can I steal my paper?
Another good example of a multi-year was Parks and Rec was saving up for the clubhouse
Correct.
at Riverside. So that's a great example of a multi. They knew the need was there.
But if we put it in the budget right now, which I'm fine with, I don't have a problem with any of these options, but if we put it in the budget right now, they won't be in front of you with a budget amendment. Because it's in the budget now.
That was my question, is like, why don't we just save time? And if we approve it during the budget process, and that, is there anything that we give up by foregoing the opportunity at another date to reopen the budget and approve an amendment when we can just look at whatever the requested use is during the budget process and approve it then with the whole budget? It just seems, am I missing something?
If
Some
they have
projects
a-
they don't know about
Right.
at budget time.
Right, I
Some
get
grants
that.
we don't know about. And for transparency's sake, I think that it behooves us to have those amendments. That's why some of those amendments are important. Because now we know what's coming instead of just,
Well, it could also be instead of, they might want to do something in FY '29, not next year.
Right.
So,
Right, I understand. I guess I'm not clear why, if somebody knows they want to spend $100,000 in FY '27 out of the Fund 78, out of their allocated fund, why doesn't that just appear as a line item on their budget for,
It can.
okay.
It can, and that would be specific, but we talked about budgeting the entire amount, which is not the same thing, and not budgeting anything, which is not the same thing.
typically if they know that there's a project coming in '27, for example, it's in that budget. But if they don't know that they're going to be able to complete it or fund it, then it goes into 78. So that's the whole reason. So like what you're, I mean,
I'm
That makes
going to
sense?
give an example. OpenGov is a very good example, right?
Okay.
So finance there was a different ERP system we were looking at that didn't work, right? But then we started looking at OpenGov. We didn't have the authority to do OpenGov, therefore we had to open up Fund 78 in order to finish purchasing OpenGov. But we didn't know it at the time of budgeting. Now, some of these departments may know at the time of budgeting, and that very well could go into the budget. But sometimes they have to save multiple years and
Right.
say they need 150,000. So by year 3, maybe they can ask you to go ahead and open the budget, or we do a budget amendment. We also have one more part of OpenGov that we're going to be implementing, which is more of a capital plan that we still are very preliminary on, so.
We can very easily, in this particular fund, or in this particular instance, ask every department, the 7 that are on there, if they're using any of that money. And if they are, what it's specifically for, and budget that amount with the revenue from reserve as the reserve and the expense. This is a really easy fix if that's the way you guys want to go.
Yeah, I think that would be a big help, that as we have the budget presentations, we know what's in the Fund 78. We're like, okay, there's a 700,000 in there, like, what's your plans for that? Just having that in front of us as we view each department. And I don't know if it has to show under your revenue category. You probably know that better than me, but
Yeah,
just having
done
that
that.
somewhere so we can ask. But to me, the best thing about Fund 78 is the multi-year, saving up for multi-year projects.
Right, it would be the same as if you saw the wellness and the education, it was use of reserves. If we use something from 78, there would be a line item to say use of reserves, which for general fund is in 78. Other funds have their own different reserve type thing, but that's what it would show us, yes.
Yeah.
Is it ever come up for those of you who've done the process before, does it come up where there's a request that comes up from a department that we could say, why don't you use Fund 78 for that? I mean, does that happen when they, or is that an advisory role that you have, or is that advisory role that we would bring up, or?
I think it could be either. If you knew the department had funds in Fund 78 and they were in front of you asking to do something, and you could easily say, well, you have this amount in Fund 78, and we would allow you to use it that way, you bet.
So we've had departments that have said in budgeting, we're looking at doing this project and it's been set aside in 78. And then this is why because like with the wish list that some of them have, some of those are correspond back to 78 and then they budgeted into that for that year.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? That was a good overview. First, I'm glad we talked through that.
Yeah, that didn't go as fast as I thought it would.
Or as long as you thought it would either.
All right, thank you.
All right.
We'll get that Fund 78 question answered. Thank you. And posted, and I'll let you know if anybody plans on using those.
All right, and with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.